Oh, okay, it is gonna change. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the League of Legends UK Custom Games Night. It's Monday, 6th of July. My name is Peter Westcott Hartnell, and I'm joined by Irish Pete Johnstone. Irish, what are you anticipating heading into this night of action?
I'm really excited to see these two teams go head to head. We've got Alpheus, Chris, Dibs, Pikachu, and Gankakus on one team on blue side, so that's going to be a real headache for Red to deal with. And on the other side, we've got Gumblesaur, Dew, Christia, Xfast USB, who we will just refer to as Xfast, and Tyarg, I guess you could say. Some unfamiliars over on red team for me, but some great playmakers over on blue team. Straight out of the gate, we see Runeglaive Ezreal banned. We see that Heimeninger target banned against Dibs, who is prolific on it. And on the flip side, the Bard and Vladimir band. Do you think they're general power pick bans or more specific at these players?
It's a little hard to tell. I mean, Bard, not the most common of bands. I mean, I don't know how well you know these guys, Irish, but are there any particular sort of power champions amongst these players?
Well, the Heimer's off the board. Riven's always a popular pick. Gragas just seems to be, again, the flavor of the month jungler. Even post Void 12 nerfs is very strong, just in terms of position and chain CC, etc. But with the last ban going across here, remember that Rise is still on the table, even post a slight nerf, and it's Cassie that's banned, leaving open Rise a power pick. You've got Callista on the table. You've got Victor. You've got so many power picks here that it's interesting to see that cast coming across, and you have to feel like it was targeted um, at blue team. And I guess if you're going to take powerful mages off the board, then Cassie is on the list, but I don't think she's near the top of it. As we see Jinx locked in there, potentially for Alpheus.
Okay. Well, what do you think uh, that an early Jinx pick? What does that speak to what Blue Team's trying to do in this game?
It's not easy to tell just from one ADC pick. I think they probably wanted to secure in a comfort pick for themselves and get a look at what Purple Team are going to do in mid now that they've banned out all of these power champs. And straight away, no hesitation, Thresh, Vayne, bot lane. That's very scary for a Jinx. And an Echo in the jungle. So a good draft so far for both sides, and a Soraka locked in for Dibs, who's had good performance on in the past, and that silence, that area effect silence, and the sustain can do a lot to offset the damage of the Jinx Vayne, but post or of the Thresh Vayne, but post six, their engage is going to be pretty terrifying. So we're going to have to see what blue team have in terms of disengage, because neither Echo nor Soraka offer a tremendous amount of disengage or appeal to the Jinx. So we'll have to see who the other picks are. And we do see Diana in the mid lane, so in flavor of the month again, maybe perhaps consistently almost, and potentially a Nidalee for Xfast in the jungle.
Well, what does Diana bring to the team?
I different people have different opinions of her. I see her as a counter mage, an assassin, AP assassin who can go in and take out these hyper carries that are a little bit squishy before they're able to do sustained amount of damage to the rest of the team. Um, and she's got a lot of shielding. She's got a lot of mobility with her dash. So, and Elise post buff, I'm very interested to see how this Elise plays out. As she used to be queen of the jungle, she took a series of successive nerfs to make her almost irrelevant. And now Riot are just tweaking the fringes of her character, a little bit more movement speed, more health. She moved around some of the damages on spells again, but it'll be great to see that. And so now we've got Thresh, Diana, and to an extent Elise for engage. So good engage peel composition to keep this Vayne safe over on the red side.
Well, from what we've seen from Red Team so far, are they missing any components of their lineup which you'd expect to see picked up in the final pick?
Yeah, well, the one thing we haven't seen so far in this patch and in League of Tanks is a super tanky, probably engagey champion along the lines of maybe a Maokai would fit very well here. They could also go with a Gnar, although his Rage Bar makes him a little bit more unreliable. But yeah, definitely someone with a bit of frontline presence that's able to zone off this Aurelia and this Echo and stop them getting at the back lane. Vayne, who's going to be very vulnerable to dives from both Aurelia now and Chris on this Echo, and potentially Super Mega Death Rockets coming in from long range, you know. So the last pick here that we're waiting to see is the top laner for Red Team, and it'll have to be someone who can go toe to toe with Aurelian Lane without feeding, which is, it's a big ask for any champion really, because she's got such a versatile kit, true damage, stun. The lower she is, the more likely it is to be a stun. She's got a resetting ability And of course, her Transcendent Blades give her lifesteal. So just a really versatile kit and a very strong top laner. Good split pushing presence again on Aurelius. So we'll have to find a pick that can both participate in fights with red team, but also hold that top lane and stop Aurelia from getting that global gold bonus off pushing down turrets quickly. But a very
Well,
interesting. Yeah, go ahead, Pete.
I hate to state the obvious here, but we are seeing a blue team that has both a Soraka and a Janna on it. What does this mean?
Well, it can mean a lot of things, Pete, but I think in this case, the Janna is providing that disengage um, hole in Blue's composition before she was picked in. So the Echo and the Aurelia are very much engage champs. Soraka's just going to hang at the back with Jinx and allow her to do as much sustained damage as she can while providing some zone and peel. And then, of course, this Janna is going to be standing by with her Monsoon and with her Tornadoes to make sure that this Diana and this Hecarim can't get anywhere near blue team. Hecarim's an interesting pick. Have to see how the Yard takes him. I'd prefer to see him go a little bit tankier so that he's able to bring that presence to the team fight later. And he'll pretty much have to against an Aurelia. If he goes glass cannon build, she'll shut him down, you know, level 4 perhaps, or level 7 after she's got a Sheen or completed Triforce. She'll just shut him down and take control of the lane. So is he going to be enough of a tank? Is it at least going to build AP Assassin? Is she going to build off tank AP, or is she going to go full tank with a Cinderhulk? These are the kind of decisions that will impact Diana and Vayne's ability to confidently do sustained damage, because Vayne has no upfront burst to speak of, and she's going to have to try and get through the Soraka heals and the Janna shields. So she's what is lacking on red team is a lot of burst damage. But looking at the two teams, Pete, in terms of wave clear and engage potential, do you see any clear advantage taken from the pick and ban phase?
Well, I mean, I just can't quite get past dibs on Soraka, presumably in the mid. I just don't know. I mean, it's obviously, Dibs is a well-known customs player, so it never is a sensible idea to count him out. But I just don't know quite what Soraka is going to bring to the team in terms of she doesn't have really any well, one of her skills doesn't even do anything in lane if she's in the solo lane. She can't really heal herself except by use of Starkle, which is a little unreliable. And she would still have to, I believe she still has to level her heal to actually get a heal from Starkle. So, I don't know. I mean, going up against Diana, it doesn't seem like the best matchup, but I guess it remains to be seen.
Yeah, I wouldn't underestimate Dib's mastery of the champion as well. He has a cache of off-meta picks, pocket picks you could call them, and I think he'll do just fine in the lane. He'll be able to sustain off the minions and wave clear them simultaneously. He may have mana problems. If Diana decides to go all in with the Ignite, um, Dibs does have a lot of sustain and area effect silences and other stuff to peel back. But you're right, no inherent mobility in the character is going to mean that she's vulnerable to ganks, particularly from this Elise and the Hecarim roaming in from either side. Or if Gumball decides to do maybe a level 3 or 4 roam into the middle, and Dibs is abusing the wave clear a little bit too much and pushed up out of position and vulnerable and exposed, then red team have the potential to do that. But conversely, this Vayne is going to have an awful lot of trouble in lane versus the Jinx with the longer ranged area of effect splash damage, potentially critting splash damage rockets, right? And the Janna is just going to be adding shields, which is negating a lot of the damage, and more AP, more AD back onto Jinx for her to do more damage in these trades. So Vayne is just going to have to try and get as much farm as she can. Every CS that she gets down there will be a victory, and it will be a defeat for Alpheus, leaving it go on to her because Vayne is a ticking time clock. And if a Vayne and a Hecarim get to the late game, if this goes to 48 or 50 minutes, then one fight. They will just wipe everybody on the map, and then the death timers will be so long they'll just walk home to your Nexus. So the onus, I think, with this composition is a little bit on Blue's side to try and close the game out faster. And with Aurelia being...
No, I completely agree. I mean, looking at the red team, seeing that we've got Jarj rocking the Smite, he's certainly not going to be the strongest one early, though. I'd be expecting potentially to see him take an early jungle camp, maybe to get the XP lead. I mean, how significant is it when a team picks up 2 Smites as opposed to just the one?
It won't make too much of a difference earlier in the game. Aurelia's just going to look to farm for 4 levels anyway. but where it will make a big difference is when teams group up for objectives, and we've seen it have an influence not just on dragons and barons as you'd expect, but also just on red and blue buffs. The team with the two smites is able to dictate the pace of the event, and they can even outsmite a Callista if she's not played right. So it could be influential, but the lack of a combat summoner spell in lane will really hurt Hecarim against this Aurelia. If Gangakus plays it right, which I very much suspect he will, then the Hecarim will never have a kill pressure on Aurelia after level 4 or 5, and he'll only be able to push the wave out and try and rotate and get an advantage somewhere else on the map, because I don't think he's going to find much up top. We'll see how it plays out, but that's the norm for this combination. Because Hecarim is built so much.
Sorry, I just to check. I just check your OBS and make sure it's not. Okay, no, it is streaming. Sorry, just making sure it was coming through. It didn't show up the loading screen.
Okay, cool. Well, technology is always against us, Pete, but we'll struggle on through these trials and tribulations and attempt to cast the game in earnest. I'm really excited about seeing these two here. It's always a pleasure to watch these guys go at it. There's a lot of action, a lot of kills per minute, so it's shaping up to be a really good game.
Yeah, I mean, should we be paying close attention to any of these guys' item picks? Do you anticipate anything unusual happening there?
Dib's itemization will be of interest to me to see whether he specifically builds to counter this damage threat from the Diane, that's very obvious, or whether he'll consider that this Vayne and Hecarim will bring a lot of damage into the fights a little bit later on, and that if he's not prepared for that in terms of itemization, he could take a lot. Vayne's going to do true damage if she's allowed to stack her silver bolts. Hecarim does disgusting amounts of physical damage with his rampage on a low cooldown, so, and potentially with a combat smite like challenging saber or the chilling smite to slow her down, could be a little bit tough. But other than that, Aurelia's pretty standard. She's going to build Trinity Force most likely, potentially a second damage item or maybe not, and then straight into the full tank. The ADC paths are pretty locked in, with the Vayne looking more for attack speed, Jinx looking for base AD and crit. The Elise will be very interesting to watch, I think, because they just rearranged the champions.
One thing I'd like to kind of take note of here is Jarj is, aside from potentially being under threat from the blue team here, which he seems to be very cheeky, he's only picked up the crystalline flask, hasn't picked up the health potion. What do you think that might be?
Sorry, Pete, I was muted. The reason for that is if you buy your 2 health potions as well and you do a jungle camp and you back, then you've only got about 200 and something gold, whereas if you don't buy the 2 pots and you just use your flask for the jungle camp, when you base you have about 305 and you can buy a cloth armor straight up. And it will negate some of Aurelia's physical damage, but remember, with her hidden strikes on her W, she'll be doing true damage, and that's when she'll be looking to trade. So partially effective at least for this Hecarim, but that's the reason for the buy order like that.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense, and a really good point about that true damage. So yes, it may not be as effective as it immediately appears, but still, with both top laners having, I say both top laners having teleport, they have both just used it up. I'm not sure about that on Gankus's part, but at least I suppose they're on relatively even playing fields, as the bananas rain down in the middle lane.
Yeah, I took a look at the gold there quickly, and because the Aurelia had bought the pots and based, she didn't have enough for the armor, so just bought more pots. She is closer to her Sheen than Hecarim is to his Phage now, though, because the armor, of course, won't be useful for her monthly builds, maybe Ninja Tabbies or something later on. So while it's useful for some early trades, it does divert him from his build path a little bit, and she does technically have more sustain in lane with those pots. But both of them should just be looking to farm early. I guess really it donuses on to Yarg, like we were saying, to push her in and keep her low, keep her off CS. And if he can do that, he can delay her power spike. And if she's not able to hit it in time, misses her timing window, then it means it was essentially a 4 and 5 for a lot of the game.
Well, I mean, let's discuss this mid lane briefly. I mean, it seems to be pretty even considering that Striker is not the most common pickup.
Yeah, at the moment, Christia is just a little bit ahead on CS, but you'd expect that with that Crescent Strike. She's able to hit a lot of CS and apply a lot of area effect damage. Whereas Soraka, if she uses hers, she'll mana out very quickly. She hits far less with each one. We see a very aggressive positioning from Alpheus in the bot lane, as we said, trying to force the Jinx or the Vayne off of CS so that she's not able to scale as quickly. But Jinx isn't very good at freezing because of all the damage that she does, particularly using those rockets. So it looks like CS is fairly even at this stage. If anything, a little bit ahead for the red side because of the Tarragon procs on Thresh.
Well, I suppose one thing which is worth noting for Dibs in the middle lane is that the Star Call comes down much, much quicker at short range, which you'll see happen quite a lot, like there.
See, 150 magic damage from that, forcing the late shield out of Diana, which does nothing. Here's a nice trade onto the Yarg, and there she went in with her dash, used her Equilibrium Strike, which is the E to slow him in this case because his health was lower than hers, and then procced her W, her hidden strikes, to do a 5 seconds of auto attacks, doing true damage, penetrating that armor, and a really nice trade from her there onto the Yarg. So it's going to be a tough lane for him up against this gank because he seems to know what he's doing on this Aurelia.
Well, I mean, in the bot lane, so is it all just down to this, the time it's going to take for Vayne to become a real terror? The blue side have been able to dominate as much as they have?
Yeah, I mean, I may have overstated it a little bit because they're both late game carries in their own right, but they bring different elements to team fights, whereas Jinx has a huge amount of area effect damage from a long range. Vayne has a much more, their Equilibrium Strike, and just handbags at dawn really because both have enough sustain to keep going. So just do some trades there to try and get a CS advantage, but it's actually toe-to-toe at the moment. 29 to 28, it just ticks over. But yeah, Jinx is going to scale extremely well too. But if she meets Vayne one-on-one late game, Vayne wins it because she is the split-pushing, dueling champion. Oh, nice dash there from Christia and the Ignite. Dibs going aggressive for it and has the first blood. So beautiful outplay there, Pete. We couldn't hear you, I think, but a really aggressive play from Christia to use the dash in and the Ignite. Uses her E to pull Dibs back in, but gets under turret, and Dibs, of course, having enough stain. She just come online with the Wish and used it in the fight and was able to get enough heal to stay alive while the Ignite ticked, and she was able to take down Christia under the turret. So first blood to blue and a very nice play.
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, I do apologise for the my mic not working briefly there. But yeah, really, really nice play. The use of the burst heal, I think, really caught Christia off guard.
Definitely, and that's what I said. It's dangerous to underestimate Dibs on this Soraka. He's got a lot of time put down and knows the champion very well. So even though it may seem off meta and weaker, if he has a true champion mastery, then he can outplay you in those scenarios, especially where Christia was maybe a little bit inefficient in how she used her damage, not getting it all down with the Ignite at the same time, so the Soraka heals were less effective. Perhaps didn't think he had the kill until he didn't anymore, if you know what I mean. By the time he realized he had kill potential, the window had passed, and then he chased it to the point where Dibs had kill potential, and the result is a 700 gold advantage for blue team. But otherwise, a lot of farming going on and not a lot else, right? We do see that Alpheus is backed on the Jinx to get his BF sword, whereas as you'd expect, Dew on the other side has got his Cutlass building into a Blade of the Rune King. So pretty standard down bot, though Alpheus will be stronger now with the 45 attack damage that he gets off of that. BF sword will be much stronger than I think 25 damage on the Cutlass. And even though it does provide some lifesteal, that doesn't matter in straight up trades and all ins.
Well, I mean, you answer these questions before I even think to ask them. I mean, well, how significant... Oh, Dew walking right onto those Flame Chompers. Nice use of the Dark Passage to keep the damage away. The Christia's in trouble in the mid lane. Chris Gunnafi coming in and trying to take out his namesake. So much damage there. And Chris Gunnafi gets the kill. 2-0 to the blue team. And I don't know that there's that much that Jarge can do here, apart from maybe get aggressive on himself, getting smashed super hard. Has to blow the Onslaught of Shadows to get back to the turret.
Oh, nice hook.
Oh, Alpheus in trouble again. And a nice use of the silver bolts there. Charge getting a crest on underneath the tower, and Starfall takes it.
Dibs diving for that, flashing under tower range and taking it, but Onslaught of Shadows used in the mid lane, and then he goes down anyway. A disaster for Red Team in terms of timing. A nice gank first down by Chris to come into mid lane and catch Christia out of position. Also, Chris had built the Bami Cinder on his way to his Cinder Hulk, so was tankier than he may have first appeared, which is why the Yarg was tempted to go back in, and then Christia knew his damage and knew his health and was able to just time it perfectly, get a lot of damage, force the Onslaught of Shadows, and then through utter disrespect, Yarg remained around and Dibs dispensed ghetto justice, taking him out with that star call there, which is even worse than dying to a Janet Tornado.
Well, you say that. I mean, Starcall, I guess in this particular case, when you are stacking the AP, oh, Grumble Sword just avoiding the Flame Chop was really nicely played there. The hook does go onto Gankers, but I don't know if that's quite what they wanted. Play comes down to the box as well. Slow's happening underneath the turret. Can Ju do anything here? Maybe with the help of Christian, who comes in the mid lane. Ju gets the kill. Pikachu pounded into the wall, taking those silver bolts to the face. Flashes, tries to get away. Nice knockup. But the fight continues. Christian takes the kill. And Pikachu in trouble as well. Christian taking a lot of tower damage, but Ju's the one to take the kill, evening up the kills between these two teams.
A roaming death squad of Red just collapses down into the bot lane. Here's another fight in the middle, but I don't think too much is going to come from it. But down in the bot lane, they did massive work, getting a 3-for-0, taking out this Jinx and this Yana, and even Gankagus, I think, that TP'd in. So very good collapse, better rotations by Red. You could see that Christia was happy to go under turret and take down the Jinx solo, while the rest of the team focused out Aurelia and Stejana. So yeah, great advantage there. Now 3 kills to 3, gold is all but tied up, and it just brings Red right back into this map where it looked like Blue was getting a bit of an advantage.
Well, I mean, I guess we're starting to see some of the potential of the Red team as far as being able to apply pressure in a very, very efficient and hard to predict fashion. I think we might see some more wards coming out from the Blue team to try and counteract any kind of future instances of death squads.
Yeah, we see a single Sightstone and a pink ward completed onto Pikachu on the Janna, but we'll have to see now how the Echo goes. It's interesting, Sightstone does synergize really nicely.
Oh, Christia could be in trouble. Has to flash out. The Dark Passage, unfortunately, only providing a shield this time round. Nice hook underneath the tower. Chris going to feed. Is taking the damage. He has to blow the ults to try and keep himself healthy. But Pikachu doing good work to keep the engagement from going any further.
Yeah, Chris is very tanky, so even though there was some positional mistakes there, he was able to sustain through it all. Did blow the ult, which maybe was a little bit unnecessary, but it's better safe than sorry. And a close one there. So, Christian's got to wonder now and double guess himself every time he goes in for a gank down there. Is this tanky Echo going to be around?
Well, I was let's say one of the things I was expecting to see a little earlier. Nice Alpheus does get caught. Nice use of the crowd control there. Alpheus taking a very short range rocket, does not do too much of anything. Alpheus is so solo, the flash comes out, one more shot, Ju gets the kill, putting Red Team ahead. Can they get anything more? Pikachu manages to squeak away.
The Monsoon was very late there and the damage had already been done. So by the time it was channeled, Bane could just tumble back in and do 1 or 2 more autos and manage to take down that Alpheus. So I'm not sure if it was on cooldown or what, but a little bit use. And also would have expected Blue Team to peel off of that fight, continuing to damage from range, kiting out this short range Vayne. But now kill potential in top lane as well for the Yarg on Gankagus, so she's got to be careful. But she's looking for an equilibrium strike.
Christia, though, in the middle lane, it's getting slow. Dibs is continuing to chase. And I don't know, it's been so back and forth. I mean, for the Blue team, what's their next move?
You've got to look at the farm across the map, and teams have to realize who is stronger at the moment. And sometimes that's hard to tell from in-game. But in the top lane, this Hecarim is winning out by a large margin. In the mid lane, Dibs is a little bit ahead in terms of kills and CS, so he's now stronger than Gankagus or Christia. Even though Christia is still always to be respected, Dibs is very strong now, sitting on the Catalyst and the Blasting Rod, and will be on a Rod very shortly, which at 13 minutes isn't bad work for a mid lane Soraka. Meanwhile, Vayne has completed her Bladed Ruin King, and she is very strong, while this Jinx Alpheus is still just sitting on some small, just one component of an Infinity Edge, presumably, but yeah, some great power spikes over on the red team. Also, you see the challenging Saber, Skirmisher's Saber completed over onto the Yarg on the Hecarim, which is making him quite strong too. Although that and the Ninja Tabi are his only items right now, so nowhere near getting that Trinity Force or even Phage kind of power spike that he gets. Whereas on the flip side, Phage is completed for Aurelia. So, in terms of power spikes, Soraka's on one and Vayne is on one, but elsewhere on the map, people are still itemizing.
Well, I mean, Josh is doing great work. Picking up the Juggernaut, not necessarily what we would expected. Sorry, edge. I mean, well, between the various choices you have as a top laner.
Peter, yeah, I'm just going to stop you there for a second because you're lagging out quite badly, and it looks like the game itself, the game client may have crashed for me. So just going to try and quickly reload that and see what happens, but let's just pause the broadcast here for one moment.
That's the game to me.
So I'm not going to say drop hack, but it is potential. As EUS server issues have caused this, though it's curious that your voice communications got really erratic at the same time. So just try talking there, Pete, see where you're coming through.
Hello, I talk to you from the other side of the void.
Much better. I didn't like Robot Peter at all, man. He was just not a nice guy. So yeah, you sound much better now.
Boop, 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 boop.
So I'm going to quit from that. I'm just probably going to have to restart the client proper. So apologies for the black screen, folks, if that's what you have. I'm going to edit this out of the video finally, if that's what happens. I am loading back into the client. We don't know if the players have been disconnected or kept going. We're going to assume for the time.
Oh no, the game has continued while you're doing this.
Okay, cool. So we can just edit this out in the end. And it looks like Dibs is able to take out that turret in the mid lane. Kills are now 4 for 4. The gold is still really close, although Blue do have a turret in their favor. So it's hard to tell which way this is going to go. It's going to come down to the next few team fights over objectives, and whoever the winner is in those fights and able to take a few objectives will be the stronger team. I guess it goes without saying, right?
Well, I mean, we've got one dragon in the favour of the blue team, so they've got that small. I don't know if that's going to even out the gold advantage between them, sort of, as far as sort of power level go. But to me, it feels like, given how badly Red Team were doing to start with and how well they recovered, to me they feel the more confident team at this juncture.
Yes, definitely. And having that Vayne coming online, having her sitting on her Berserker Greaves and her Bladed Ruin King, and able to 1v1 pretty much anyone on the map, maybe not Aurelia, is got to be scary. And they've got to try and use her correctly now to be a split pusher and draw attention away from other lanes so that the rest of Red Team could group up and take objectives. And of course, Hecarim's great at that. They could even run a 1-3-1, and it just does Blue have individual carries that are able to go one-on-one in a lane and stop?
Oh, well, speaking of going one-on-one, it's a 3-on-3 lane. Jarge could be the one in trouble. He's going to get caught up, and he's fed to the beast that is the blue team as they continue to chase down the red team. Christia dropping the shield. The Superman his rocket comes in, doesn't secure the kill, but Christia's taken very low. Chris going to feed, goes in hard underneath the tower. Nice for the heal there. Alpheus is getting aggressive on the bottom lane though, but with the support of Pikachu, he's going to turn back the aggression onto Jew, who's forced back and away from that turret.
Yeah, Vayne not quite strong enough to take on two characters, but certainly had the better of Alpheus there. And if was left alone, it would have gone in their favour, but he may have overstayed now. As Jinx...
this could be very bad. Jew gets knocked up. Alpheus is not pushing to the wall. The healer's there, and the shutdown gold going across to Alpheus.
That may be the nail in the coffin, as Jew overstayed there. Could have easily walked away, still being able to trade objective elsewhere on the map or whatnot, but giving up that kill to the Jinx at this stage just brings her back on parity with this Vayne. She's going to be able to go back and complete a Infinity Edge, and may have enough money left for some components of Zeal, so it's going to even out the power spike difference between the two and make it harder for Vayne to be effective. Here's a fight in the mid lane though.
Well, we go Jarge going in really hard with the onslaught of shadows, not turning back the aggression onto Dibs, who's been ignited, but it doesn't manage to get the triple healer. So big! And, well, an inconclusive fight while in the bottom lane, the tower going across, evening up the towers between these two teams.
Yeah, looking at the red team, the Hecarim, the Elise to an extent, and definitely the Diana are all based around wanting to dive into your team and do large amounts of area effect damage to you. The Vayne wants to catch you one-on-one and get picks or get free time on structures because the rest of her team is so strong. But she can't face, like, Jinx has Zap and Chompers, Echo has a metric ton of CC, and Soraka and Janna have plenty of zone and CC and peel, etc. So it's very hard for red team to engage into blue. With the
Oh
heat.
no, X-Fast has been
Oh.
absolutely cut off from that dark passage. Grumblesaw manages to avoid the zap. There's no red buff there for him to go across to. He has to blow the flash. Will the blue team pursue him further? Not today.
Not today, as Chris was coming in from the river to support, but a lovely catch there through onto X-Fast, and a beautiful use of the Monsoon to knock
Oh
X-Fast.
no, Jew's on the wrong side of the tracks.
Yeah, he's
but
probably
it's
going
not
to
doing
die.
this way. It does get, this time, gets the Condemn into the wall and gets the kill. Is he going to take the dark passage? Jude decides not to pursue this case anymore.
You've got to wonder
Right
at that.
now.
You've got to wonder at Alfia standing there and just right-clicking on this. You'd expect to see a little bit more kind of kite and peel with the chompers and the zap. Use Janna between the two of them and make it hard for Vayne to apply successive auto attacks and proc the silver pulse, which is exactly what she did. And she's always going to win in a one trade with Jinx. Trajana does no damage, so if she's not being effective with the CC, that's what it is. And here, Chris is so aggressive now. He knows.
The fight has broken out in earnest. X-Fast goes down to Dibs. Christian making good use of the crowd control there. Jew Zilsa's kill skill. It's going really back to the forward. Superman Death Throw does not connect. Flay and Box are there. Try and keep Chris in place while Christian goes to town. Good use of the stun and and Christian is being denied that kill.
And yes, eventually Chris just says, not going to feed this time, and flashes over the wall. But blue team are so strong now and they know it. Look at this 403 tanky Echo. He can do whatever he wants on the map. We've got this 414 Dibs who can change the fate of a battle from halfway across the map or all of it if she wants. And this Janna who's roaming and being a good presence. Echo might have been caught here now though.
Oh, Chris is being fully aggressed onto. Is the tankiness enough to keep him alive? No, the shutdown comes across, and because Echo's not there, there's no stun for Jarge underneath the tower.
Yep, and able to get away. Now, will Blue be able to close in? Looks like Alpheus has his number. Here's the Janna as well, so he won't be able to duel even. He will go down for sure.
Almost.
And a nice kill there, and just transferring the deaths across. But this may be a dragon for red team, which with their scaling composition is, it's a great trade for them. So they got a shutdown onto Chris, which is 500 gold going over onto the Yarg here on the Lake M Hecarim you want. And on the flip side, they got a Drake as well. And they lost a kill, but that's no big deal. 1-for-1 with shutdown money and a Drake is a really good trade for red team.
Yeah, I mean, they made the best of what's become a slightly awkward situation for them. I think it does feel like maybe each time one of these teams is getting confident, they're getting overconfident and making the slip-ups, which lets the other team back into the game. I mean, what can they do to avoid that kind of thing?
Well, I think what both teams have to attempt to do is group and take some more turrets. At the moment, Blue have a tenuous 1k gold advantage over Red, and that's not going to last. So what they need to do is start grouping and taking down these remaining outer in the top lane, and then all of the inner structures, and getting the global gold advantage from them, turning into items and coming back to fights for map objectives like Barons and Drakes with more strength, because at the moment they're a little bit scared, and it's hard to fight when you're scared in this kind of composition.
Well, Gankus and Jarge going fully at each other in the top lane. Chris is here to try and provide some extra fun for a poor old horseface. Jarge has been smited. The slow isn't going to fully connect. Gankus, nice juggling of tower aggro there, and Jarge the kill secured by a
Dibs.
nice starfall, but the fight still continues. Dibs gets absolutely exploded. Chris is trying to get away, but going through a turret to do so. Ju the one to take the kill. Gankus is the next on the menu for the red team. Can Ju get the vision on him? He can. Nice condemn, cancelling the dash. Pikachu walking through this may not be the best party to try and join into. There's no turret there. Ju continues the pursuit, but it's going to be pretty hard with the zap coming in. Ju does take it to the face. And that's going to be the end of this fight, but a nice one for the red team.
Yeah, and they've just bang on evened up the gold. They've even turned it a little bit in their favor, undoing all of the good work that Blue had been doing there by chasing that kill onto the Yarg. It's not even worth that much now with him 1-4-1. He did overstay by dueling with that Gankikus in the top lane for long enough for Echo to rotate, but then they took too long killing him. Echo, for example, having a challenging smite rather than a chilling smite, as his tower is not going to go down quite yet. Jinx is able to get a little bit of wave cleave similarly in the bot lane, but red team working this 1-3-1 split push, and you can see the result. There's pressure all across the map, and this is exactly what I said they needed to do, is start taking turrets and getting a clear global gold advantage. Now that they have it.
Oh no, Alphys gets hooked and condemned, nowhere to go. Ju takes a kill very nicely as Chris is having this fight 3-on-1 against the Dragon Pit. Here come the rest of the blue team though. Huge amount of damage from that Star Call. X-Fast. I believe it was the Equinox caused the stun there. Chris on such low health gets picked up while Ju is going in on Pikachu underneath the tower. Exhaust comes down, it's not going to be enough, but
maybe
the kill isn't even there as well.
Oh, not quite. A chaotic fight across the whole map. Ends up being more than a 2-for-2.
The fighting continues. Josh is taken out by Gankus in the jungle. How rude.
Ladies and gentlemen, greed kills. So does a level 11 Jinx, with no buddies roaming through a jungle with absolutely no wards, with a dedicated killer in Vayne waiting for you. So that's what started that series of fights, and then Blue did take some advantage down around the Drake area where they're able to get some kills. But if you look at what's going on, Ju on this Vayne is now 7-2-2, finished the Phantom Dancer to complement the Bork, has also got his Brutalizer on the way to a Youmuu's and the Berserker Greaves, so now a very scary threat. Meanwhile, Jinx just got the IE and the Zeal, so still not really strong. She wants to have a completed at least Static Shiv, preferably Phantom Dancer, and even a Last Whisper before she's a real late game threat. So Red are ahead, even though they looked like a long time they were behind, and still in kills they are, even on Drakes, ahead on turrets, and very much ahead in itemization now. Though it is notable that both the Aurelia and the Hecarim have finished their Trinity forces, but Hecarim now with that Cinder Hulk is going to be quite tanky there as well, and the challenging smite. So able to duel. Wasn't quite able to take Aurelia in the last fight, but I think in the next one may potentially be able to do it.
Well, Gankus and Christian slapping each other in the top lane, but for blue team, what can they do to try and minimise Ju's impact
They have to
in team fights, given that he's the main sort of source of damage?
They have to find him and they have to destroy him, and whatever it takes to do that, they've got to find a way to get a pick on this team that doesn't have any really hard engage. I guess if Gankus is able to get like an equilibrium strike for 1.5 seconds or something, that's the extent of it. Maybe into a knock-up from a Janna or a Monsoon if she gets a really good positioning, but that's more about Drew mispositioning. They don't have any hooks or, a lot of hard CC to lock her down, or reliable hard CC, if you consider like a Taric point and click being the ultimate form of that. So it's difficult for them to lock down this, half invisible Vayne as she tumbles around a fight. So if she mispositions, I just go by the character, folks, not the player. So if she mispositions, then Blue may get a pick on her, and then the rest of Red's team composition would fall apart in face of the sustain and the shield and the damage that Blue have. But if Ju is able to evade Blue's machinations and do sustain damage in the fight, she'll very much carry this game, as she has been doing so far.
What do you think of the Ardent Sensor pickup for Pikachu? How significant is that going to be, do you think?
I flip and love Ardent Sensor on a shielding support with a hyper carry, because it means that not only are they getting more shields, but they're also getting attack speed and magic on hit effect as well, which just makes those, like, what is your team's primary damage source, even better. Same with a Lulu or anything else you can put on it that does it. An Ardent Sensor just augments that, and it's just got generally good stats for rangy mage support who's not likely to get into the middle of the fight. I mean, it's a better option than a Magias, which a lot of people would build on there.
Well, it looks like we've got some real potential for fighting to break out even.
Yeah,
around the dragon buff.
they're posturing for it, they're positioning for it. It's live now, and both teams want it. They both have one each. So whichever team. Oh, there's a catch onto the Yarg.
Oh no, Josh is being crowd controlled like crazy. Onslaught Charge is not quite cancelling the chompers. He is going to be able to get away, and now the numbers are in the blue team's favour, who haven't had to give up too much to push that horse out of the fight.
And that's a real opportunity missed for Red, because even though Blue had the numbers, they didn't have the position, and they gave Red 20 seconds on the Drake. And with a Vayne, that should mean it's dead, you know. But now Christia getting caught, peeling back. Here's Stu.
Well, Christian going back in again. Equinox is going to cancel out a lot of that damage, though.
Watch this
Can't cast
Vayne.
any spells. Oh no, Jude!
Oh,
Jude
no.
has all by herself. Nice use of the box there, but they are chasing down. Each member of the red team is being hunted through the jungle. Kill going across to Chris, and Charge. It's just too late to do anything. Now it's another 5-on-1, and Grumblesaw is going to recall in the tower. I don't think it's going to work out too well. It looks like it was a bait. But,
Talk
I mean,
about
that's
your
gotta be a free dragon.
Talk about your scumbag Elises. Are you kidding me? You walk past the lantern, then turn back to click it, while the Elise simultaneously clicked it. So not only did the Vayne knock out the lantern, but she turned back into blue team, condemning her to death at that stage. An absolute scumbag move from Xfast USB, who more than willing to throw themselves at the blue team to protect his Vayne. After Sheed went down and already Christian had been taken out, they could just take whatever they wanted off the map, and at that time Dragon was convenient. So as I was saying, the team that gets the Dragon advantage now goes into the next Dragon fight knowing we can potentially fight for Aspect in a respectable amount of time, whereas now for Red, Aspect is pretty much off the table in terms of a late game solution. If it takes that long, Vayne should already be able to kill everybody on the map, you know. But it'll come down to positioning in every fight. In that one, Blue had it, they gave it up to Red. Then Red had it, and for some reason, the Yarg was forced out of the fight, so for numbers disadvantage, they were forced out of position, and Blue eventually won out in this kind of musical chairs that everybody was playing. And in the end, Red team lost out a Drake and a kill, and I believe a structure as well. So now three turrets apiece, and the gold is like 700 gold in it, which after 30 minutes is not a lot. Here's a pick though, potentially onto Dibs.
Alright, so Dibs, nice use of the Equinox, and has the flash. The hook comes in, Dibs in so much trouble, absolutely annihilated, and the Baron could well be started up here. We don't see the vision. I speak a lot. There is a vision there for the blue team, so this could be a bait. We'll see if they do take it though. Who gets held in place and smited? Nice Grumblesaw takes the rock to the face. Red team not able to prevent Jew from getting taken out of this fight. And now it's the red team on the run as they're pursued again for the jungle. Christia is providing the backline here. X-Files comes in. Nice use of the Zonias there to avoid the stun. I don't know. Grumblesaw using the hook to try and keep Alpheus out of this fight. Christia's so low. Gankus gets the kill as the turret tries to intervene, but it's not enough. X-Files. I think the X-Files actually got 2 kills in there. How did that even happen? Pikachu is being locked up near the turret as Jarge comes in. So what started out as a pretty terrible fight for the red team, actually turning out pretty well. Flash goes across the wall. That's surely not going to make a difference. Jarge cannot be denied. 4 feet are better than 1 after all. I say feet, hooves. Pikachu managing to waste a reasonably large amount of red team's time, but it's not going to do anything more than that. Jarge wants to take the kill.
What actually happened there, and the fight was going so well for Blue. I mean, sure, they'd lost Dibs at the start, and then Red had pseudo committed to Baron. Blue showed up, and they got the pick onto Jew. I mean, it was their fight to take. And then in the ensuing brawl that kind of peeled back from the Baron through the red jungle towards the red inner turret, Alpheus became separated from the rest of the team. Where the rest of the team were in the jungle by the Raptors, he went down around the mid lane wall trying to cut them off and catch him. But Blue still had enough strength in the Yarg and Xfast USB to completely zone Alpheus in the end down into the blue side jungle, where he got picked up one-on-one by the Hecarim, of course. So really a positional error there by the Jinx turned the fight around. And she was sitting on her completed Eye Edge and Phantom Dancer and would have done tremendous damage with long-range rockets from the back line if she was standing in the back line. Unfortunately not in this case, and Blue lost some kills there and some gold, but no turrets, no drakes, and otherwise Red team get a slight gold advantage now, sitting on just under 2k, but it doesn't mean much at this stage. As teams get up to around 60k, the gold starts to fall off, and by 80 or 90k, it means absolutely nothing in terms of champion stats. So right now, while Red have this advantage on their Jane, on the Vayne, they need to use it, but she's got caught again.
Well, this time Ju is able to be rescued. Christia chooses to take their place. I have to feel the red team really suffering from coordination problems. There we go, Alpheus does get the hook to the face, and is now being burnt through by X-Fast USB, who is going to be exchanged. Shutdown goes across to Gankus. Christia, right in the middle of the blue team, goes across the wall thanks to a Monsoon. The rest of the red team there to try and stay in the fight. But now Gankus is picking up kills left, right, and center. Ju is all by themselves. Jarj is being pushed out of the fight by the Starfall, and it's now Christia is still alive but back in base, and it's going to be Jarj against 4. I don't think it's going particularly well. Chris going to feed, continuing to aggress.
Yeah.
We could see another turret picked up here for the blue team.
Absolutely massive work done by Gankikus on this Aurelia, hopping around, stunning and killing everybody. A positional error by Alpheus again means that, and missed Rocket as well because of the Thresh Hook. Alpheus did no damage in that fight. But blue team said, feck it, we'll take 4 on 5 anyway, and we'll still kill you all and take your inner turret. So really good fight for blue. Beautiful Monsoon to push, I forget who it was, but over the wall towards the blue side Raptors and get them out of the fight for a second. It allowed blue to keep skirmishing, keep switching aggro and applying damage. Didn't allow red to lock down any one person. And this is all the peel and disengage and zone on blue team. And it's absolutely beautiful to watch these fights happening because they dictate the pace of who they want to kill. And they juggled everything really well. They were all low when they finished, but they got the kills. So I think if Alpheus can be a little more careful with the fight, it'll start to get pretty one-sided, as the gold lead has once again swung back in blue's favor with the kill. And now we've got Drake up in 25 seconds, and I think this fight will very much decide how this game is going to end.
It's, to me at least, it's unbelievable how much work Gankus is doing on Aurelia, considering the CS difference between these two top laners. As the Baron gets started up, Gankus is in the area, but the blue team, well, let's scatter around. Super Mega Death Rocket is going to come in and take a chunk out of X-Fast USB. I don't know if Red Team want to really continue this fight
really
while
risky.
The Baron is smacking them. Ju is taking a lot of health off Gankus, who is going to get taken out of the fight. Pikachu is next on the menu for Ju. I don't know if there's enough there. Monsoon has to be dropped. But here comes the counter-aggression. Chris going to feed coming in. Nice use of the smite. Ju doing so much work, but again, we can't be fully protected by the team. Grumblesaw getting the play, but now it's Ju against 4 as the red team scatters to other parts of the map. We're looking to try and get a Tara back to give Tara's back parity, but an awkward fight.
That's good use of cross-map objectives for Christia, but it's going to be a poor trade because they lose Ju. They lose a few more members, and they're going to lose this Baron by the looks of it. I thought that Gankikus had kind of made a mistake by pulling him off the Baron but dying to it, and then it looked like Janna was going to feed and give him a free Baron, but Echo showed up, and man, he is so fed on 7-3-13. Cinderhulk.
Oh, here we go, the steal attempt coming in. Blue team does get the Baron, but red team have committed to this. The damage is massive. Christia comes in and absolutely tears out the heart of the blue team. Still, Chris coming back with a lot of violence as well. The red team not quite on full health. Gankus is able to secure the kill. And I don't know, this could go really, really badly for red team. Desperately trying to get a dibs. Double kill goes across them to Gankus. And now it's Jarj all by themselves. Ju is up, but nowhere near this fight. And a huge disaster for the red team.
Yeah, as long as Dibs is allowed to live, then they're going to be able to sustain through the fight by keep putting down the heals and the area effect silences, etc. A really well taken Baron. I very much liked Christia's initiative to, while the Baron buff, Magic Resist Shred, debuff I should say, was still on blue team, to go in and do that huge area of effect damage, and she ripped them up, but it just wasn't enough to get through Dibs and Janna, and they could sustain through the fight and keep skirmishing, and blue just love to jump on your face. They chase you down and they jump on you, and it's really hard for Ju to handle if her team isn't ahead and able to dictate, the pace in the battle. So momentum very much swung back in blue's favor. 28 kills to 20. They've now managed to eke out a 3k gold advantage, with at this late stages isn't nothing, but it's not anything major either. But I think blue have the momentum now to keep taking turrets in, especially with this Baron buff and the 3 Drakes. They should be able to take some good fights here. Catch Ju maybe, and then just take the game home.
All right, well, it's still pretty darn close. I mean, given the fact we've got 8 kills in the favor of the blue team, gold's still pretty even between these two. The good CS on the red team's part,
Huh.
allowing for that to happen. Chris going to feed, going hard onto Christia, and it's another instance of the red team getting one member just nailed down while the rest of the team just had to look on. Alpheus is being aggressed onto Onslaught Shadow is going a little
Again,
too far. Monsoon
poor
pushing
Alpheus.
Charge away, and now it's going to be another 1-on-4. Charge in so much trouble. Alpheus takes the kill.
Yeah, I don't know what red team are playing at. I mean, getting caught like that, they know that blue want to chase you and engage you, and the only thing red should be doing right now is protecting their base structures, which since they decided to get picked in their jungles, means that this inhibitor and inhibitor turret are going to go down in blue's favor. And with the dead time is 25 seconds onto Hecarim and Christius, they could push, but they're probably going to peel, strangle out the both top and bottom inner turrets, potentially take all of the jungle off a red side, go back and spend and come back even stronger. So really, really great fight. We did see that Alpheus was finally gotten to the point now. The 3 item drinks, the IE, the PD, and the Last Whisper, she's able to kite and peel and do enough damage and sustain to an extent, I suppose, while the Janna provided zone and CC and knock up, and they were able to delay Yard for long enough for the rest of the team to get there and take him out.
All right, here we go. Really aggressive from Chris. Completely takes Drew out of the fight. The turret goes down while this is all going on. Grumble's still trying to do everything they can. They're stuck at the back of the fight. The box goes down, and here comes Charge going in against a huge quantity. The entirety of the blue team. Gankus is forcing away the other members, and there's only so much this horse can do. Grumblesaw, it's the next on the menu for the blue team.
It's all
Drew
over.
trying to get back to heal, but just, I mean, this gives us so much pressure. Christia is going to die. An inhibitor goes down. Quadra kill going over to Alpheus, which is absolutely crazy considering how things were looking, even 20 minutes ago.
This game
The
is
turret's
so
falling like rain.
This game is so over. The crowds are running out onto the pitch. Only Jew left. There's nothing he can do. This inhibitor's gonna, or this Nexus is gonna die, and it's gonna be GG blue team. Really well played. Very strong performance by them. Red team did bring a good fight, but in the end, blue had it.
Whoa, well, really, really nice end to the game. I mean, it felt like they were just the red team just weren't able to keep Jew safe and make use of that massive gold advantage that Jew had. I mean, is there anything they could have done differently, or was it just the nature of the way their team was kind of constructed?
I think Red played really well with their composition. I think they did give up some picks, and their vision could have been a lot better, and maybe they would have been able to hold on to the tenuous leads they had at points during the game. But overall, blue had just a kind of a scary composition once it got a bit fed, and it did get quite fed with 34 kills. And they just see champion, chase champion, kill champion, and it just meant that none of the fights were even. Even in the even fights, they were able to split up and kite red team enough um, to win out the fight through sustained damage and sustained heal from the Soraka. I think Dibs did huge work, 7-4-21 on this Soraka. Also, Gankikus carried them through a couple of fights in the mid game, 9-4-4 in the jungle. We saw Chris on the Echo, always willing to engage and get kills, 9 kills, and then Jinx catching up a little bit towards the end, but still getting caught a few times. But overall, some very strong carry performances from blue team, which meant though even though red played their side well, got their farm, they itemized well, they even grouped to take advantage when they could. There was just nothing they could do against the playmaking happening over on blue.
Oh wow. Well, given what we saw in that game, I'm imagining we're going to see the teams mixed up a little bit to, try and create an even closer match than previously. But from what we saw, are there any particular characters you're expecting to see banned this time round?
Yeah, I'd still expect to see the Heimer band against Dibs. May even draw Soraka ban, though probably not. Gragas will likely draw a ban, as we have seen him do many times. Echo potentially, as we were saying. And then there's just so many power picks in the meta at the moment that it's really hard for teams to cover all of their bases. It's more around what do we want to build as a team and what is our win condition. Okay, which champions most impede our ability to do that, and then picking them out of it rather than, you know, specific bans against just generic power champs. But then again, if blue team like on Dibs, for example, have a character like Heimerdinger that is just overwhelmingly strong and obnoxious and annoying, then they may ban it just to have a more enjoyable game all round. And
Oh,
say,
I check your OBS again.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Okay. Yeah. So it looks like automatic scene selection's not quite doing its job, but we will continue to innovate and bring new technologies to the stream to avoid this sort of unfortunate event. But thanks for the heads up there, guys.
all right, well, it looks like the players are back into the game relatively quickly. I didn't realize that Charge was challenged here. That might explain the vast quantity of CS because it's all about the CS, man.
Yeah,
But, I mean, I guess maybe it wasn't in that game.
he's probably not very happy with me if he's spectating the game, but yeah, I like to look at how the guys are playing the champions in the match, and it was a tough matchup for him going into the Aurelia there, but play a pretty impressive. Hecarim was able to get some nice kills onto
Hmm.
Alpheus example with the positioning, but yeah, always fun to see a high caliber of skill in these games. It just makes it more enjoyable to watch.
Absolutely. I mean, well, I mean, it's as you're saying, it's after a certain point. I guess the CS was a lot less important. I guess once they both have their Triforces and things. Well, I mean, is there anything that you think that the red team could have done differently in that game? I mean, aside from protecting Jew, perhaps a little bit more.
Vision control is something that's always a bit hit and miss because the nature of custom games, it's five individuals who know each other, sure, and play together, but are not a team per se, which means that they have less of a natural understanding of of each other's warding patterns and your jungle routes, etc. So it just means that you've got to be trying to be extra vigilant, kind of get overkill on the wards so that you see what the enemy team is doing. And by nature of the game that we're watching right now, it's the same on the other side. They're less coordinated. So if you have a vision advantage and you're able to pick out their movements and pick off certain champions, then you can unlock objectives for free. I wouldn't say there was anything in particular that Red did wrong in the last game that caused them to lose it. I think both teams played very well, and Blue's more aggressive nature probably helped them. I think maybe if Red were a little bit more aggressive in situations, then they may have taken the initiative. But it's hard to say how that could have gone because it was absolutely disgusting engaging onto more than two members of that blue composition in the last game. You know, you could get a character down to
Hmm.
10% health and Dibs presses or from base and suddenly the guy's on half health again, you know. So it's just tough to make the call about whether you're strong enough to execute the kill.
Well, I mean, let's talk about Elise. Was she suffering from the same problems which Elise has in the past in terms of just sort of falling off hard in the late game?
We didn't see a lot from uh, X-Fast USB on the Elise. I mean, he was around in the right places and providing counter junkles, counter ganks as you'd expect, but no huge amount of like proactive ganking to try and set either the Jinx or the Aurelia behind. So it seemed to be able to stay relevant in farm and bring utility to team fights, but maybe not the most naturally synergistic jungler with the Vayne. Um, might have been interesting to see somebody who could they have potentially have taken instead of the Elise there. I mean, you can consider traditional power picks, but also off-meta ones that are always fun. Like,
I would have maybe liked to have seen someone like perhaps a Maokai, just a someone whose job is to try and keep Vayne alive. I mean, there was an element of that with the cocoons coming out from Elise, but it's still
yeah,
it
I
didn't ever feel like anyone was really tasked with keeping her safe.
I would have liked to seen a Volibear, or if I was Blue Team, I would have hated to see a Volibear or someone like that come in and go and grab a carry and throw him right in front of Jinx. Singed to do the same job and say, "There you go, Vayne. Just kill her, and we'll move on to the next one." You know. And I didn't think Elise had the ability to set up a great Vayne kill because she'd get that 1 to 1.5 seconds stun on her cocoon, and then the character would just move off. They weren't able to layer enough CC either to keep characters locked down. So maybe Red's overall composition. I was going to check something once you cover off there, Pete.
All right, looks like we're about to start. So we're going into game 2 of this evening. Let's see how the bands do play out.
Why don't you run the intro again there real quick?
Sure. Well, for any of you who are joining us, welcome to the League of Legends UK Custom Games Night. My name's Peter Westcott Arnold. I'm joined tonight by Irish Pete Johnstone. We're in game 2 of the custom game night. So these players have played each other previously, and the last game going in the favour of the blue team. Teams, I believe, have been a little bit mixed up. I'm not. Yes, the Gankus is now on the opposite team. So hopefully we're going to end up with an even closer match than last time, which in itself was very, very close for a very long time, very back and forth between those two teams. So we see the bands coming down. Thresh the first and Riven the second. Thresh did do some serious work in that previous game, but I felt a little bit bad for the Thresh player because there's only, there's a lot of things you can do, but
Yeah, it's fair to say there was an effective use of Thresh in the last game, and it wasn't down to him that they lost, but always very powerful champion in terms of both the engage with the hook, but also the gap closing for other champions with the lantern. So a solid all-round band there. We see Echo come in again, definitely targeted. We can expect to see Runeglaive, Ezreal bands across the custom nights for some time to come until they figure something out about his queue. And Riven is always, always a worthwhile ban with this bunch of characters we have in this game. So it should be interesting. Azir's in, and finally the Heimerdinger. I was wondering if it was going to slip through. I was kind of hoping to get to see it tonight, but we may just see Dibs go for the Morgana instead. His second favorite pick next to Heimerdinger. Yes. So do you think that they're going to prioritize an ADC over on blue like they did in the last game? I don't feel like picking that Jinx first gave him any advantage in the champion select. If anything, it allowed due to counterpick on the other side. And it almost paid out, and certainly in a couple of situations, the Vayne had the advantage over the Jinx just because of extenuating circumstances, wasn't able to convert it into a huge kill directly on her, I guess, but did pick up a lot of kills across the map.
Yes, I mean, I completely agree with you. Picking up the carry, first of all, I mean, Sivir, having recently had her on the hunt nerfed, I mean, it feels. I mean, obviously, you can say this better than I can, but it feels to me like Sivir is very strong against certain enemy champions who've got potentially slow moving skill shots and these stuff that's easy to catch in your spell shot. And when you pick her first, kind of inviting certain other champions which aren't going to be really brought down by her spell shot. I don't know.
Sivir's really strong, and she's not strong in the sense that they call her the scuttle crab because she brings vision and speed to her team. So she's like the vision shrine right in the river. So she has that ult which allows him to engage or disengage at a whim. She has a spell shield which will compensate for maybe poor positioning in fights or even intercept one for an ally if used well. So a very sturdy pick. She doesn't scale and become a hyper carry like a Jinx or a Vayne, so that's how she's not really, really strong. But she has a very strong early and mid game pressure because she's such wave pushing power with the ricochet, with the boomerang. She's able to push waves under turret and get a lot of CS and reach her mid game power spike pretty reliably. And Dibs on the jungle Poppy, absolutely awesome. This is going to be a fun game to watch because it is, a somewhat obnoxious champion. I don't like to overuse the word, but Poppy is obnoxious, but also fun to watch. We've seen it even in LCS in the 2014 playoffs, right? So, and on the other side, we've got the Fizz and the Kha'Zix. Kha'Zix in the jungle, still a fan favorite amongst a lot of Kha'Zix mains, but in terms of flavor of the month, he fell way off. And even is he strong in this meta? Yes, if he gets ahead, absolutely. No, 100% if he gets behind. He's as useless as nipples on a man, as some people like to say.
Well, I mean, what we've seen from Red Team so far, as picking up 2 assassins. I mean, they've grabbed Bard now, but what else can they use to kind of really push forward that kind of play style?
They need some wave clear, or they're in big trouble because you're going to have a Sivir and an Ahri pushing waves into your turrets constantly, and unless on the red side you're able to clear out those waves.
Wait, what?
Yeah, a Shaco coming through potentially in the top lane for Ju. Aurelia again on blue side, although Gankakus is now on the opposite side, so maybe blue team are going to return the favor, and gank Gankakus with the Aurelia.
I have to assume it's the case. I mean, well, if we do see this Shaco go up into the top lane, I mean, I have to admit I don't know Shaco super well if he is intending to be a top laner, which is obviously still up for debate here. If he does go on the top lane, what would he be bringing to the team?
I just wonder when Yasuo and Ari and Severe and Blitzcrank, please Blitzcrank. I love watching them. I hate playing against them. When blue team decide to group us a group and run down mid lane and start taking turrets by pushing the waves in, what are red team going to do to stop it? Is Shaco or Bard going to stand in their way? Is Fizz going to playful trickster into a wave and potentially catch, either a taunt from Ari, the charm, or catch a blitz hook? Is Shaco going to run up and try and assassinate someone from the side and then quickly clone while red team pop vision and again pull him into this horrible composition? And a short range Vayne with very little wave clear. I'm very dubious about this red composition. They do have, like, of course, mega assassination potential. They're totally disgusting to lane against, but when it comes to fighting for objectives, if blue don't let you split push, then you've no way to defend. And how are you going to split push even because you'll never be able to have the rest of your waves in a position for you to be that far extended. Whereas on the flip side,
Well, what would you like to see red team pick up AD carry wise?
I think they'd have to go for well, it doesn't matter now. They've gone for the Vayne. Okay, so that's what they've got. They've got Vayne Bard in the bot lane, which is a lot of scaling going on, versus Severe and a Blitz. So, you probably won't see a lane swap coming in a custom game, but this is going to be a pretty horrible lane for Chris, I imagine, because Jew's got the Ignite and the Teleport, so it will be the Vayne on Chris this time. Jew going top lane instead of ADC as he was last game. We've got Fizz in the mid and Bard with the Ignite down bot on the flip side. Uh, Blitz taking the exhaust to probably deal with this Aurelia, Fizz, and Vayne. So he's going to get a lot of use out of that spell. I like Blue's composition. They've got some wave clear. Blitz and Poppy both have some displacement to help Yasuo proc his last wins. Although Blitz isn't great because if he grabs a guy, he pulls one guy out of a team, which means the ult only hits one person. If Poppy was able to grab somebody and push them into the rest of red team and get that mass displacement, then you'd really see the Yasuo goes down. Lane wise, I'm interested to see Gankakus and Exiled in the mid lane, Yasuo versus Fizz. It's always a fun game to watch, a lot of mobility. Um, keep an eye on this Challenger Bard in the bot lane too. So, if he's able to dumpster all over Alpheus, who did show some positional errors in the last game, and if he's able to get the Vayne ahead, oh god, if Shaco shows up and gets a double kill in bot lane, with a TP or Kha'Zix gets a double kill, then it's going to be a very scary comp. So blue have to kind of batten down the hatches, play safe for a little while,
Well,
make sure they don't get behind.
well, I mean, I'm certainly very interested to see how Jude does on the Shaco. Uh, I mean, against Yasuo, I don't know. Is the Windwall going to cut a significant amount of Jude's damage?
It's all about positioning, and Yasuo is extremely mobile, so and Ju, I think there's one teleport in the kit. I'm not a Shaco player, guys. I've read the page, but he doesn't have a lot of mobility in it, and gap close. Potentially, when he's invisible, he does. But if Yasuo keeps moving, he'll just be able to kite back Ju. If he doesn't have to take the fight unless he wants it, essentially.
Well, according to Twitch chat, Dibs apparently has had his Poppy impugned, perhaps suggesting not going to stand any kind of chance against Gumball in the jungle. If you see these two titans of the rift, these two monoliths clash, do you favour?
Whew, I think Poppy scales probably as well, if not better, than most of the champions on the Rift. Um, that's a bold statement, but she's damn scary late game. And the the Gumblesaur on the Kha'Zix, if he's able to farm well, it's tough because he doesn't farm very well. If he's able to get some ganks, which is kind of tough because he took a lot of nerfs in his kit too. But if he's able to do all of those things and the planet's line and he gets ahead, and he'll be really strong. But if he doesn't do any of those things, then Poppy just has to keep farming, taking ganks and even CS where she can. And yeah, she'll just become a terror. And like in the late game fights, when Chris shows up and says, "All right, I want to kill you," Dibs on the Poppy is going to say, "No way!" Smash him into a wall, hit him with a hammer, and like two shot him. We've all seen it happen. Similarly, Jew, Gankagus, and even Gumble Blazer Gumbo is pretty squishy depending on how he builds. If he goes Warrior and a damage item, he will be squishy. If he goes Cinderhulk, no, but why would you do that on a Kha'Zix? So you've got to assume he's going Warrior and will be quite squishy for a while. and all of that.
Well, that's concerning for me at least. That seems the concerning thing about red teams setup is again. I think we're going to see a Vayne who's going to be ruthlessly pursued down by members of the opposing team because it's only really Jarj who's in any kind of position to do anything about it unless red team commit all of their assassins into protecting an AD carry, which seems like a really bizarre idea.
I mean, nobody wants to dive into that red team at the same time, but if Blue are able to find picks, then yeah, as you said, they could chase you down for days with the dashes on the Ahri, the spirit rushes, and Blitz's temporary speed boost, and sure they've all got a lot of inherent mobility, so we could see those roaming death squads as we did the last time. But this looks like it's going to be a great fight. It looks like it's going to be very bloody, and we have our doubts about Red Team, but if they're able to get an advantage, like we said, they'd be terrifying. So they do have the potential to do a lot of damage here, and I'm not writing them off just yet. Just saying, looking at the compositions on paper, at the moment, I give it to Blue if the game goes beyond 35 minutes.
Oh yeah, well I mean, absolutely. On paper, Blue seems like the team that that makes the most sense, at least in my mind. That's why, of course, I'm entirely behind the red team.
Well, you do like your underdogs, Pete. We know that about you.
Well, I mean, what's not to like about Juice Royal Shaco off the top lane? I don't know. To me, if I'm going to make bold predictions here, I'm going to say Red Team are going to defy expectations. They're going to get these assassins ahead every lane, blood fountains everywhere, and Blitzcrank will explode. Real life.
Yeah, I was going to say that, like, all of this stuff happens and the teams square up and they flank and they get their positions and everything's perfect. And then Blitz pulls your carry. He pulls your Vayne into the middle of blue team and they swallow him whole. They don't even need Tam Kench to do it. And then what the red team do? So you've always got to factor in this bloody Blitzcrank there to disrupt the lines and change the landscape of the battlefield to Blue's advantage. So it just comes down to whether X-Fast is going to make the hooks or not, doesn't it? Because it's a very sad Blitz when he misses his hooks.
That's true. I mean, well, at least in Gankus' case, he's got a pretty good way of avoiding it. But that's not really the case for the rest of the team. I mean, Shaco, kind of. Bard, not really. Ziggs, I'm not sure if his jump actually counts as getting him out of the way, if it's similar to, say, Tristana's jump. But we'll probably find out during the course of the game. As we do get onto the Rift proper, what kind of difference does it make when as a pause comes out very quickly, when you've got with Bard, given that he's got his binding and potentially quite good crowd control, at what point do you really, if ever, do you have kind of kill pressure off a Bard?
I don't know. Without intervention, if Bard and Vayne are going to be able to get kill pressure on a Severe and a Blitzcrank, it's difficult to say, because Blitz's hook is a double-edged sword. Sure, he can pull someone in and do damage to them and knock them up and whatnot, but then they're beside you, and if he's pulling people closer to this Severe, it could be very uncomfortable for her. The pause is due to Chris disconnecting, and he's going to be back in very shortly, so we're going to go live without too much of a delay.
Well, something that makes me a little bit kind of confused with the red team's pickup of Bard is that it seems like a pretty obvious choice for the diplomatic immunity, to be placed onto. So I don't know. Maybe is red team maybe relying on Bard being able to get down his crowd control onto Poppy, and that's the the whole plan. Like Co-Commentator stunned into silence. But I'm definitely sure that he agrees with everything I say because
I think
there he is again.
If Poppy engages into the entire team with diplomatic immunity and Bard is able to get his ultimate down, it could be disruptive. It's hard to tell. The Bard CC is so unpredictable. You don't really know who it's going to play out for unless the Bard is really good. And again, I think the Yarg here should have a pretty good command of the champion, so we'll just have to see how the early laning goes to kind of decide whether he's going to be able to make the plays. But the kits have the potential. All of Red are really difficult guys to take on one-on-one, with the exception of Bard maybe. So Red definitely have a split push advantage if they're able to draw blue across the map. But when blue group up, they definitely have more fighting power, I think, than this red team. A pretty standard
That
start.
makes a lot of sense.
Looks like they're both going for Krugs on blue side. They're both going for the ADC start, which makes sense because you get a better leash from two characters than you would from one on the other side, and it just gets you on the jungle path a little bit faster. It looks like Exile is going to take these Raptors before he goes in back, picks up potentially. And we've seen, interesting on the Shaco, we've seen him come out on with a flask, and I'm not quite sure whether he's this guy. Yeah, there he is. So, looking at him, he's built APs, built no AP, so he's just going AD. So I'm just interested to see.
Oh, Jarge gets caught with a really early hook. There's no knock up there quite yet though, and Chris is getting a lot of damage down onto Alpheus.
Yeah, he sure is, and some Meep empowered auto attacks as well going on there. So, and Bard has the sustain, of course, to be able to do this and back off and heal up. So, good pressure early from Red.
Well, I mean, at this point, yes, you make a really good point about the sustain, though it's going to take a little bit of time before. Oh, Jarge gets caught again. Level 2 again, and not quite there. It's actually level 2 advantage in Jarge's favour.
Yeah, it's hard to tell who's winning these trades. I think. Oh, a little bit of handbags. He's just going to try and burn down that Poppy box or that Shaco box. But I think if the damage is going over onto the Severe on Alpheus and not on the Vayne on Chris, then it's going into favor because Bard can always peel back and sustain through, but it's harder for Alpheus to do that. So as long as Vayne stays healthy relative to Severe, they have advantage.
Ooh, Gankus getting torn pretty hard, and that's kind of aborted. Oh, Alfie's getting caught against the wall. Really nice use of the binding there in the bottom lane.
Yeah, really good trade in the mid lane for Pikachu, getting some good damage down onto Gankus, making him reconsider those dives. And we did see that potentially Gumbalsaur was in position, but just decided to grab that Scuttle and go back and get his upgrade. So now that the junglers have their upgrades and they're out on the map, we may potentially see some lane intervention. Nice.
Oh, Chris gets caught. Nice use of the hook there. X-Fast not able to actually secure the kill though, despite a pretty promising start to that fight.
I think if Alpheus had prosecuted that, they could have put so much damage down on the bench they have to leave. But they're happy to take the farm under the turret because they want to make sure they have that CS advantage as well. And Vayne has to walk a long way around.
Oh, Zhu making good use of the... never mind, Jarge. It's one get caught. And again, these hooks are landing consistently, but as you said, they're not necessarily landing on the person they want to. And Gank is taken very, very low by Ignite. As much as the same as Zhu, who's very, very low in the top lane. The sustain is helping out Jarge, but I have to feel like there's one really good gank away, and if Exile manages to avoid getting hit and slowed, but Zhu just a little too low really to take advantage of this gank from Grumbalsaur. Gumblesaur?
Gumbalsaur missing the
Flash
void
comes
spikes.
out. This fight still continues. Ignite comes down. Exile taken super low. He's going for the minion wave that hasn't taken aggro, and it's an abortive gank up in the top lane.
Yeah,
Or is it?
he's sustaining off the minions with his Dorans and his pots. Oh, yeah, it is aborted and the flash blown as well. So, and Zhu just getting out. Interesting, but yeah, a lot of resources blown by Red to try and take that, and in the end, the advantage.
Oh, Chris is going to be in trouble here. The hook comes out, grabs the Chris. Chris has nowhere to go, getting pushed back, and first blood going across the Dibs. I guess Dibs has silenced the critics.
Yeah, certainly coming in the Poppy in the right time, right place. But the MVP here is X-Fast, who is landing hook after bloody hook and managing to totally disrupt any potential farming and trading that Red wanted to have. A good timely position there from Dibs to show up. And the Vayne going down, right? Still got her flash, still had her heal, and potentially could have tumbled to the left or the right. You gotta juke those blitz hooks. You know it's coming. It's like a speeding freight train coming down the tracks at you. So, gotta do better to miss them on both sides because if they keep eating them, especially now with the CS advantage for Severe, it's going to be a horrible lane for them. And remember that Ignite was blown as well by the Ahri in the mid lane, while Fizz is still sitting on his. So I think Gankakus is the one ray of hope for them where they may have kill potential, because elsewhere Shaco has blown his Ignite as well. While the Yasuo is sitting on a TP that's almost up, so that summoner combat advantage is cleared, and now I think that blue own top and bottom lane, and and red potentially own mid lane at the moment.
Well, I'm kind of confused about Ju's choices of items here. And going for a Tear of the Goddess early on, has here comes Charm of the Waters. Pikachu getting taken so low. Oh my gosh, Gankius takes the kill, evens it up between these two teams, and that's so important for Red Team to get on the board. Oh, sorry, my co-caster is having a brief moment as Charles gets caught. Alpheus again. The spell shield is blown, has to flash away. Chris is going to continue to pursue. And X-Fast pounded into the wall by that condemn. May not be the best idea though. X-Fast not punishing with a hook. As Gankius continues to enjoy some free time in the middle lane to feed his fishy face.
Ari in the mid lane, they're not respecting Fizz just getting his level 6 and still having his ignite up, which gave him oodles of kill pressure. Eventually able to get her under the turret and Playful Trickster back out. Down the bot lane. Oh, here's a fight.
Well, IMXard did fall for that cheeky shack in the box there. IMXard getting taken super low, but again, well, there's no ignite quite yet for Ju to try and get that last bit of damage in.
I can't help but feel if Ju had some proper items that he could have got that kill. Maybe he's taken this tier to build into a Muramana, or just have enough sustain to keep in the lane. But yeah, he lost that kill there when he potentially could have had it. Now Yasuo's coming back on an Avarice Blade and Brawler's Glove, so not an awful lot, but starting to get some crits now at least. But yeah, interesting that tier is going to make Shaco really weak and could potentially tempt Dibs to go up there for a gank in a little while. But bot lane is the focus right now. Ari's here, Dibs is here. They want to make sure that this Vayne gets shut down early and stays shut down. There's the exhaust.
Alright, there we go. The exhaust comes up. The charm does miss. Chris is the sacrificial lamb for this 4-on-2 in the bottom lane. We do see Gumblesaw coming out. Dibs underneath the tower. Nice using the magical journey.
Yeah.
And the stun comes out. Jarge is the one who's being diplomatized here. Is the only one who can really do anything. But no! Gumblesaw really nicely timed, gets the last bit of damage in.
Yeah, Dibs taking a turret shot when potentially didn't have to. Kind of greeted onto the kill. Knew he was dead and tried to trade. But taking that magical journey was greedy. I suppose there was a Kha'Zix at the other side, so neither prospect was very enticing. But it's a trap, folks, to follow Bard through magical journey, because he can cosmic bind you right to the wall you just came through. So it's pretty predictable stun from him there. And then his positioning kind of tempted Dibs into the turret, and that made all the difference. Even with immunity running, he still went down.
Yeah, but really nice series of plays there. I mean, that's always good with the thing with Poppy, even though she's a very strong character, that she has very... Oh, here we go! Shu getting blown up underneath the tower. Exile making good use of his dash to get away and not take too much damage either.
Yeah, happy to proxy farm then. Looking at the CS, even before that kill it was ahead, but now we see that this Yasuo Exiled is getting quite far ahead. He's like 25 CS, 27 CS ahead of this Shaco.
Oh, Pikachu is being aggressive into further. Nice support from Jarge, but here comes Dibs trying to get onto Gankius. Gankius, I don't even think saw Dibs coming. And we've got Bard trying to get away in the middle lane. Has a little help from his friends, but
do you know,
there's no real window opportunity.
Dibs took the Bard taxi, getting the dash and the push onto Bard, and then being close enough to get the empowered auto attack through onto...
Oh, X-Fast! Nice flash! The silence is there, the hook is there as well. Alpheus is pushed away, doesn't matter, gets the kill. That's the first kill of the game for Alpheus. Being denied so far with only assists.
X-Fast is playing out of his mind on this stretch, or on this blitz. He's doing like godlike plays to totally shut down this Chris. I don't think he would even need to. Chris's positioning hasn't been awesome, but with the perfect bullying tempo from the blitz, constantly CCing and knocking up, and even there saving his pull for the last. So when Chris thought he may be able to get out right on the turret, pulled him back into his inevitable death. And despite the condemn against the wall, Alpheus is able to kill him and get a lot of pressure on this turret here. So 5 kills to 2 in favor of Blue. Some really great plays coming from both sides, but overall Blue getting the advantage of it in the early game. And you can see that as well in the 2k gold advantage that they have for themselves. And just popping up the 3 when I said that.
Yeah, but that's always the way. She's doing some pretty nice work with the, trying to make the most of those Shack in the Boxes to keep I'm Exiled, keep making good use of them to counteract the sweeping blades, which are bringing Exiled right up into Zhu's face, but then walking right into a Shack in the Box. Still, Zhu getting taken aggressed on underneath the turret, and Exiled able to walk away. But no, Gumbalsaur comes in trying to secure the kill. The last bit of damage is there. I wasn't sure for a second if Exiled will get the knock up and be able to get away, but
Yeah.
not the case this time.
Exile unfortunately had no enemy units to dash through to get away. So the flash there maybe burned in hubris, but still Gumblesaur able to clean up. But you gotta say, Jew is getting shut down in the top lane. He's 0-2-0. He's got a mishmash of items, probably a Morello right now, and that he's trying to build, but he's sitting on nothing. Meanwhile, this Yasuo 31 CS up, 2 kills up. He's already got his static shiv, so he's got all that attack speed and crit and even movement. And now he's building potentially into a Blade of a Rune King with this Vamp Scepter. So Yasuo is getting out of control. In the mid lane, I think Gankakus is doing a lot better. But is it going to be enough? Because this Bane is 0-3-0. Actually managing to stay on parity in terms of CS, but Alfia is just having an effect elsewhere on the map, as we can see here. And Gumblesaur should hesitate very much to engage onto this 70 CS.
Oh, here we go. Well, X-Force is getting aggressed on the blue team, having to flash across the wall to save him. Gumbalsaur being traded. No! Nice use of the invincibility. Alfie is taken super, super low. Gankakus managing to stay alive, but not quite long enough.
Yeah.
Still, he's bought a bit of time for Gumbalsaur to get away.
The Ignite ticking through the playful Trickster, so he continued to die, and just as he came out, he fell dead. The poor little fish doesn't react well to fire. Gumblesaur was saved by a really prolific Bard ult from the Yarg, but overall, I'm going to say a 2 for 2, maybe a 2 for 1. I'm sorry, I didn't catch it, folks, but advantage going to blue side, able to put down more pressure. Here's Exile, though, out of
Oh,
position.
I am Exiled taking very low. Nice use of the knockups. Exiled is taken so low, and Ignite does exchange kills between the two.
Yeah. So, one of the 3 Ignites on blue team does eventually burn through him and even up kills a little bit. Oh, very nice here from
Oh,
Yarg.
Dibs getting caught. It's such a tragic thing for the red team. The damage isn't there to follow it up.
Yeah, I mean, and Yarg's got to be careful too, because Dibs doesn't do no damage. But if he just runs and takes sustained damage like this, he will die. Nice minion taxi. Gets out of there.
Yes, the minion taxi taken to great wealth.
Yeah, coined by Crepo, I believe, but maybe not, but still a great phrase. And yeah, nice use of his mobility there to get away from the Bard, who had kill potential, I think he realized, on him. But then backup was arriving as well, so.
Yes, I think it was surprisingly close. I mean, those the meeps actually hit pretty darn hard.
They do, and they scale pretty hard too. So there is a hard cap eventually, but it's only on I think it's on the CC and the frequency or the damage, but the frequency of them increases and they keep scaling almost infinitely, well, as long as the game will go anyway. And Vayne scaling really well too, so that bot lane combo, well, she would be if she wasn't dying all the time. She's like on parity on CS, but she's, Severe has a kill and 2 assists, and just looking at the gold really quickly on them, you can already see that Severe's up about 700 gold, which is, a component at this stage.
Right, Gumblesaur is being denied, manages to take the ward, but Divs is here with smiles and pleasant dreams, punching out some minions in the middle lane and keeping the pressure up. Gold very much in favor of the blue team right now.
Yeah, I think blue maybe want to take this mid turret, get lane pressure, and then rotate on the Drake. Oh, nice. There's the hook.
Oh, nice! Very, very nice, but it's so hard to keep hold of Gankakus. Nice use of Tempered Fate there. Does not manage to get the stun though. Charge is getting absolutely hammered. The heal just enough to keep him alive. But no, here comes the Dibs!
There's the flash!
Dibs appears. Isn't quite sure which tower. There we go. Dibs does finally commit. But Gankakus taken super, super low. Oh, and it's a terrible, terrible day for the red team. Though Gumblesaur does manage to cheekily take the kill, even while it's exchanged over behind several turrets.
Yeah, Alpheus taking turret aggro there, which wasn't ideal, obviously. But Dibs coming in behind and hesitating to use his damage spells on the Bard, who was almost dead, and his utility was down. So instead decided to use it on Gankakus, which is probably a good choice. But it did mean that Bard was able to flash away, so he ultimately came back and died anyway. So a great trade for blue. Meanwhile, Exile is just pushing in Jew into this inner turret, and there's nothing he can do about it. Like, he's going to have to back in a second, and then that turret is dead. Down the bot lane, finally getting some free farm over onto Chris, and actually managing to overtake Severe a little bit in the CS, but of course down on the global gold from the kills and assists. So looking at the gold, like almost 6k advantage, or 5k advantage now, sorry, for Blue team, they've also got 2 turrets on the board, and I'm surprised no Drake yet, but definitely blue are a lot stronger now, and it's hard for them to get caught out, I would say, but then again. uh,
Well, caught out is the word for it. Up in the top lane, I was literally just about to say that I'm surprised that Exiled hasn't received more attention. But he's going to be able to get away. Oh no, Alpheus doesn't quite walk out of the Chum the Waters. No, Gankus
Yeah.
almost gives up the kill there with a slightly awkward pogo. Exile coming in to try and secure a kill themselves. But a small victory for the red team, desperately in need of one, especially as Jarj gets fully aggressed onto no. Still Tempest just missing. But Exile manages to take the kill anyway.
Okay, so here's what happened. Exiled was in the top lane, went about half health down, and then 3 members of Red came to kill him. He managed to get away, and even though Alpheus was unfortunate to stand on the edge of the shark and still get caught by the damage, and again just standing there and auto-attacking the fishes, the best idea should maybe continue to peel back as he fights. But the Exiled was able to escape from the 3-man gang top, come mid and clean up the kill. So that's how disgustingly far ahead he's getting on this 4-2-0 Yasuo. And I'm talking about 90 CS, 100 CS on some of the other characters. He's got 140 CS, so he's got 150% the CS of the next highest person in the game, which is probably the Vayne or the Ahri at this stage. So he's going to be a problem. If they're able to take him out in picks because of bad positioning, it may neutralize it somewhat, but Red have got to be concerned about it.
Well, I'm a little sad with Jude's performance this game. I mean, it's hard to say whether or not it's just the matchup, because we don't exactly see Shaco top lane too often, but not the powerhouse I was kind of hoping he would be. Is it the item choices or is it just Shaco?
I think it's down to the matchup in one way that it's very difficult for Shaco to lane against a Yasuo. In the mid lane, not quite getting the hook there, X-Fast, and we see that blue are finally starting to do a 1-4 split push, and they're stronger, but Drake is still on the board in almost 19 minutes into the game. Blue team with the advantage should be taking these, and it's only playing into Red's hand if they don't, because they're not as strong as they could be relative to them. But what blue team can
All right, here we go. This is the chance for Jude to come back into the game. Exile getting taken. Rio, nice ripple. Triple knock up there. Jude manages to evade for long enough for Chris to get the kill though.
Yeah, Jude juked him with the clone, and he took the
No pun
bait.
intended.
Yeah, I know. And Chris also baited him somewhat. So Exile was like, "Which one do I kill? Which one do I kill?" And in the meantime, they killed him. So, but again, it took 3 people from Red Team top lane, and Dibs and Alpheus walked right past this Drake and said, "We'd prefer to have an inner turret. If they're able to take it, granted, but if they're not, then they wasted an opportunity to take a cross-map objective and even up a little bit that loss of pressure from the death of Exiled."
Well, I mean, we're still seeing a huge gold difference between these two teams. Is it maybe too well? Oh, well, never mind. Gankus does unfortunately whiff the Chum the Waters, while Jude's getting beaten up by the Krugs and actually horribly murdered by them.
Yeah, and that's why the directed camera flipped up there, because he was on so low health. Oh, here's Pikachu getting caught out a little bit by Gumball, but X-Fast is there.
Oh, Gumball's so aggressive!
It's the Ignite.
Tempered Fate is going to hold him in place at the moment, but this may not have been the best idea. Charge goes through the magical journey, is followed, and Gumball is having to pay for his crimes. Here comes Gankus though, going one-on-one with Poppy. Not the strongest proposition. Oh my gosh, Gumball gets it, and he's surely going to get the reset. Maybe he can get away. Gankus going in hard against Dibs, who's getting the damage cut, but Gankus does have enough to get through. Gumball is still trying to flee, and the blue team flashing across the hook does not connect. And we see a bug's life continue.
Meanwhile, in the top lane, Exile's like, "Lads, have you heard of objectives?" As they fight all 360 degrees around the dragon and leave it on the board. But yeah, some good outplays from Red. Actually, I thought Ahri was a bit greedy to go for the orb over the wall while she stalked the Kha'Zix. It was a good move to stalk him while the rest of the team closed on him, but she should have let X-Fast and the other guy put some CC down onto him and then do a full charm orb combo rather than giving away her position with an orb over the wall. Kha'Zix with a leap is like happy days. He jumps over and gets the kill, even though, did he go down in the end or did he get out? I think he might have got out, did he?
No, he did get out in the end.
Yeah.
He's 5 kills up. He's certainly quite a powerhouse for the red team.
Yeah, He is the shining light. I suppose him and Gankikus are Red's potential to win this because unfortunately Chris isn't having an impact 1-3-0. And will eventually become a powerhouse, but it'll be late, folks. It may be another 10 or 20 minutes before she's able to like one-on-one some of these scary guys. Dibs didn't do very well against Gankikus in that like banana bush there just by blue. But you know, shouldn't be taking magical journeys and getting split off from the rest of the team. Should continue to peel for the rest of the other carries. And then allow blue to take like comprehensive wins in fights instead of just winning a little bit and having a few people alive, winning and having the pressure in your carries to go and take a turret or a drake, you know.
Well, again, we saw the red team turning its attention a little bit towards the top lane, but with IM Exile proving incredibly slippery, as we might see the first dragon of the game
Looks like
actually, for one started.
Looks like Blue's strategy was to push up all of the waves and then wait long enough for all of Red's wards to die and then take the Drake. But either way, they get it 22 minutes in. I mean, it's going to be a pretty late aspect if they go that way, but you never say no to the inherent the buffs that they get from it. So number 1 is on the road. Number 3 and 4 will be really strong for the movement speed. And here's a good catch.
Oh no! Gumblesaw!
Yeah.
He gumbles no more.
Well, actually, it was X-Fast that saw, and what he saw was a Kha'Zix with that ward.
Oh, very, very nice Tempered Fate. Gankikus is going to be diplomatized, though, right into a wall. And Pikachu is the one who secures the kill. Really nice play there, counteracting the Tempered Fate with the diplomacy.
Blue seeing that this Chris is down bot lane, split pushing, not really having even any turret pressure on the outer, which is still on a tremendous amount of HP. So, you know, once he wasn't there in the fight, it was a green light for Blue to engage in a 4v5 or 4v4 because of Exile stock in the top lane and get an advantage there and able to take an inner. Now they're up 5 turrets to 0. That's massive. That's 5,000 gold that red team have or blue team have, that red team could take from the map but haven't been able to do the pressure. And it all comes down to what we said about not really having the wave clear to be able to push the waves up. So even when they win a fight, they can't take objectives, you know? You have to win a fight and then go and wave clear until blue respawn. And when you get to their turrets, they're back there already. So it's a little bit sad.
Well, do you think maybe if we had maybe seen Zhu go for a attack damage based Shaco, I mean, I guess we might have seen something like a Tiamat to try and counteract those kind of problems. Oh, here we go! Gumblesaw going across the wall and walking right into a lot of damage. X-Fast manages to evade the Chum the Waters. Condemn is not available though today. X-Fast gets taken out and the orb isn't enough to keep him safe.
I think he did get condemned into the wall, which is why he spent so long pinned there. And yeah, Red do have the upfront burst damage that if they group and get picks like that, then they're very strong. X-Fast is not a frontline player really for these guys. He's not wave clear, so they're not overly concerned by his loss. They
here comes Dibs! The diplomacy going down to Gumblesaw. Nice AoE damage across the jump across the wall. So Gumblesaw is presumably going to be safe for the moment. Yeah. But still, an absolutely terrifying Dibs in these fights. Smashes into Chris. But now the return aggression comes out. So little health. Chris gets the kill. Pikachu could be next on the menu. A double kill going across. This is exactly what Vayne needed. As the fight continues up in the top lane, Gankikus going one-on-one with Exile as his teammate exits. Shortly, here comes Gumblesaw though. They are swapping in and out here. All very low. Gumblesaw does get the kill though, and this is really bringing Red back into the game.
Chris, you have totally redeemed yourself in my eyes. You managed to flash the Ahri charm as it came in and get the kill through. Get a double kill, in fact, through. So really nice play there from Chris to use this Vayne, who's now got her Blade of Rune King, her Zeal, and her Zerkers. So yeah, really nice turnaround there. 3 kills for Red Team. Again, doesn't solve the core problem of them not having any wave clear, but it certainly does take the pressure off for a minute, as a blue team have to go back and lick their wounds. But don't forget the blue team are starving out the jungle, taking all the buffs and everything they can get their greasy mitts on, and it means that red are getting poorer and poorer as time progresses, because don't they say that the rich get richer, right?
That's true. I mean, it's certainly a very smart move, given especially that the strongest player on the team is Gumblesaw, and he's a jungler, to try and make sure that jungle just isn't there for him to take.
Yeah, I was just hoping that Zhu didn't die twice to the same Gromp in one match, you know. It would have been a little bit sad, but here Dibs is like...
Dibs is really aggressive to Gumbalsaur, who doesn't realise perhaps that X-Fast is there, the hook doesn't connect, and Dibs is going to be crest on by his deployment-sized target. Here comes Alpheus. Chris so aggressive, and he's going to pay for it. Exhaust comes down, the shutdown goal goes across, and this is a really messy fight. Alpheus has got the spell shield, doesn't actually block anything, but it does keep aggression away. Tempered Fate does not connect with anything. X-Fast could be paying for the sins of his teammates though. The flash across the wall, but charge is there. The slows are really real. X-Fast being taken down really low. Actually pulls Genghis out of the way of that boomerang blade. Gumbalsaur going in hard, and I don't think it's going to work out well for them at all. Nope, not in the slightest, as Exiled up in the top lane continues to apply pressure. Nice uses the wind wall to just push Dew out of being relevant, but the tower aggro gives him a few more seconds of life.
Okay. I have a couple of questions about that last engage, and the first one is,
Oh no, Dew's in trouble. Gets smashed really hard. Gets him a minimal health, but there we go. The hero Chris comes in and makes everything better.
yeah, of course, Exiled is able to get the inhibitor turret, and he's able to tie him up for long enough for them to take their second Drake. But why Noxia diplomatic immunity, right, means that you only take damage from your targeted person, and you don't take damage from anybody else.
That's correct, and even crowd control effects.
Yeah, so why would you put it on a Vayne, for God's sakes? She does a metric ton of damage with a Bork and a PD, so it just seems strange. But anyway, some protracted fights going. Dibs is more than happy to jump on Gumbalsaur, because if Dibs can eliminate this 6-3 Gumble from the fight, it makes this red team a lot weaker, because so much of their strength is tied up in that. And absolute tip of the cap to Yarg for the preemptive magical journey through the Baron Pit, as he saw that X-Fast was moving for a flash. X-Fast now without a flash ought to be a lot more careful in that, but some really intuitive, clever Bard play to make sure they're able to prosecute through for that kill. So red team managing to stay relevant, still having some core compositional problems, but really enjoyable game to watch. 18-16, one Drake advantage. I thought they got a second Drake, but my eyes, it's just spawned now. 6 turrets to 0, and almost, it's a 9k gold advantage right now, so a blue team very much in the driving seat.
Well, red team definitely aren't really playing like a team that's massively far behind, even though, oh wow, see, if you goes against someone who's not exiled, it actually does quite a lot of damage. The dragon taken super low, the blue team do secure it, and now Gumbalsaur right in the middle of trouble there, does not have a jump to get away. Tempered Fate comes in, and it's going to keep Gumbalsaur alive for a few seconds more. I don't think it's going to make too much difference though. Dibs is the one to take the kill, and Archkankus does exchange while being exchanged himself. Magical Journey being followed by X-Fast, and unfortunately the binding was not able to catch Pikachu. This is really bad times for the red team. The Dragon Steel not going their way at all. Dew is still in this fight though. But up in the top lane, as is always, Exile smashing through, and the inhibitor going down for the second time.
It was a 4-on-5, and it was
Wow.
It was a 4-on-5.
So close, the silence is there. There we go. We've got the mana shield coming out, much the same as the mana shield from a Blitzcrank. Dew trying to take things a little bit further, but good use of the bushes there to keep the aggression from being pursued further.
Exile says he's going to fight.
Genghis.
Oh,
Genghis getting taken super low. Exile absolutely deleting them. 2-on-1. Double kill going on.
come on, X-Fast, you can do it.
Dew and
He
X-Fast.
gets it. He gets it.
No, X-Fast, the silence. And
Oh.
Exile's in the base, trying to take on almost the entire team by himself. No, really nice use of the Bard, binding there, holding Exile in place, allowing Chris to get the kill.
Yeah, he got an inhibitor, he got a turret. The whole fight at Drake was 4v5, and Blue still took it. And this X-Fast on this Blitz has been prolific. He is MVP hands down, and there have been some really good players on this side, on both sides. As you said, Bard again, really impressive, but X-Fast managing to finally get the Blitz ultimate there and take out this Dew who's just had an absolutely horrendous game on 255. And we were saying earlier about could he have done in the lane. Oh,
Wow.
yeah, the troll is real,
Well,
folks.
As I never even know how to say this guy's name. Demaisi? As he pointed out in the chat, and I was just thinking this myself. In answer to your previous question, it's it's not only the immunity to crowd control, and damage for everyone else. It's also a damage boost on the diploma-sized target, so
Yeah,
that's presumably what Dibs is going for.
you've got to be really careful with the Dibs fan base too as well because they're quite passionate. And I mean, he knows the champion a lot better than I do. So, again, though, in that close enclosure, it was only the very fed Gumblesaur or the kind of
Oh,
weak.
Exiled has been stalled again by a nice binding,
Yeah.
but the red team's still really leery
never
of
seen
Exiled.
a
He gets
man-
bound again.
Never seen a man get
Okay,
as
this
excited by a
time Chris
binding
is
as you.
Chris is going for it. They've managed to get the windfall out. 4 members of Tempered Fate. Perhaps not the best aimed one, but Chris does get the kill again, pushing her up to 7 kills.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so Exiled, what's left to take there, mate? Are you just gonna knock down the Nexus, the Nexus turret without anybody noticing? I think potentially he could have swapped the bot lane, start pushing Ju in again, while the rest of Blue maintain this mid lane push. And as soon as Red Team commit 3 or 4 resources to kill the Exile, the Blue should be all over a turret, And it's about the team working together to have the waves in a position to
Oh,
punish.
Pikachu has been caught, and
Yeah.
Chris has got the vision, the nice double stun! Oh, Pikachu does drop the Zonias, but surely, no, really nice use of the Spirit Rush to actually get away from what seemed like an almost certain death.
Yeah, Director Cam, you got some answers to who, but she's out of Spirit Rush now, right? She does get the orb
Oh,
down,
the
does get charm.
Pikachu, the Ignite is there, the jump, Pikachu's Gumball Sword takes the kill.
Yeah, very nice. She turned back. I'm not sure. She could have maybe taken a more optimal path out, but when her Spirit Rush was down, and they're burning this Drake down, they're burning it down with the Blade of the Rune King, and with all of this damage on this Kha'Zix with the Warrior and the Hydra, and there it goes. So huge advantage swing back in the favor, still down in gold. Ooh, X-Fast, gotta be careful, man. You can't.
I think X-Fast may be feeling good right now, but actually does get the kill. Condemn pushing X-Fast out of position, and here's Exiled Flatus. We're seeing a panicking red team here.
Yeah.
As Exiled, a thing out of nightmares, pursues Chris through the jungle. There's nowhere for Chris to go, surely. And oh, the Blade of the Rune King there, just to get Exiled a little bit more speed. Condemn is there, but it's this. Nowhere for Chris to go.
I should've-
Exiled takes the 10th kill of the game.
I should have known it. Sure, isn't he made out of steel? But X-Fast has balls of steel, folks. He's willing to jump in there in the middle of 3 late game carries, get a pick onto a Fizz, and then chase a Vi down. So the advantage that Red had taken from that sneaky Baron is kind of diminished now. Especially Ju not going to be able to do much to deflect here. So they're going to lose another inhibitor for it. Most of the people with Baron buff are dead. I think it's only Bard.
Oh, here we go. Exile could potentially be counter-aggressed onto. Nice. The Ignite was taken away.
Yeah, he's
Tempered
dead.
Fate has going to hold him in place, though. Surely. No! Dibs takes the kill.
Yeah.
That's cheeky Dibs at it again. And it's a blue team who are pounding into this base. That's the word of the day, pounding. It's definitely a good word to
And
use.
it was Dibs' dash that pulled Fizz Gankakus out of his dash, which was a beautiful move. The Urchin Strike pulled him right out of it.
X-Fast catches charge. It does pay for it though. This could potentially delay the end of the game a little bit more. Gumblesaur getting into a good position to try and catch Pikachu. Good use of the windwall there. But Vayne is hard to deny. No, the charm, the magical journey is there. The last bit of damage from Charge. Alpheus could be in trouble as well. Here comes Chris going after Exiled. Now we're seeing the shoe is on the other foot. The Poppy's hammer may be in the other face though. Dibs coming in, even on low health. The stun is real. Jar takes
Dibs.
another kill. That's a 3-kill Bard in this game. 14 assists. I guess maybe Jar has earned it.
Dibs was just paralyzed by choice. So many low health late game carries. Which one do I kill? Hesitates and then gets stunned into the wall. So, but even so, yeah, still 2 exposed inhibitors. 1 inhibitor down at the moment. Baron's off the table. And there are 2 Drakes in the hole, so even though Red Team are able to claw back a lot of the advantage, close out the gold gap, close out the turret gap by taking their first turret of the game at 35 minutes, but still a big hill to climb. Looks like they will get this compensation Drake, and that'll take it off the board, so definitely no aspect for Blue Team, but they probably weren't going that way anyway, and Blue Team just need to be a lot more careful. Maybe do a 4-1 split push, and grab that second open inhibitor and then push the third one probably and close it out, because not quite confident enough to take Red on in a straight up 5v5 in their base where they can just go back to Fountain with home guards and come out and kill you again. So Blue need to be calculated in how they choose to close out the rest of this game.
All right. Well, I mean, as you said before this game even started, the blue team's wave clear pretty terrifying. But still, I'm holding out hope for my boys, the red team, boys and girls, I suppose. Girl, is
Yeah,
Bard a
don't
dude? I
don't
don't
go
know.
there, man. Don't go there. Just like
Yes, yes.
they're all people.
They're all people to me. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, Zhu going really, really low. The thing is, like, Zhu is doing masses of damage, and here comes Exile getting absolutely destroyed. X-Force comes in to provide the assistance, condemn into the wall, and Zhu manages to get out of this one alive. Alpheus is going to be taken super, super low. Chris gets the kill, and Gumblestorm gets away with it.
Yeah, what Blue absolutely do not need to do is feed one-on-one into these fights in the top lane. We're rather close to their base and they're all grouped. Dibs was pushing bot lane, Ari was sparring in the mid lane, down by blue buff. So, just really, you're 35 minutes into the game and you have an advantage. So why are you splitting up and allowing the enemy team who's behind to get picks on you, take fights favorable to them? It's just delaying the game, as you said. I think the game could have been over already, and if Blue choose to end it at any stage, they have the potential to do that. But the longer they wait, the harder it gets.
Hmm. I mean, we're starting. I think the plays we're seeing from Red Team, I don't know, is it more about Blue Team just getting a little sloppy considering that they're so far ahead? Or is it something in particular the Red Team's doing?
Yeah, definitely. There's these little things you can buy to put down called wards, and they tell you where the enemy are. And we're seeing very
Well,
scant
Exile
little.
certainly knows where the enemy is right now, as he's being pursued by 4 members of the Red Team. Exile is so much trouble, the slows from Bard are so hard to deny. Exile is going to get taken out by Chris, and that's the 10th kill of the game for Chris, matching Exile's 10 kills.
Yeah, how many times is he going to go back up into that top lane and die to 4 red members because he doesn't have any vision and there's no map pressure elsewhere? Like, if the rest of blue team were knocking on the bottom lane turret, you can do that kind of stuff. But right now, red are free to roam and clear farm and engage you in favorable fights. And if he does it enough times, all the disadvantage they've built up will be completely gone because now the goal lead is down from almost 10k to 5k. And we're at a point where it means less and less. Vayne's got like 3 damage items, Zerker's Greaves, and she's now got a completed Guardian Angel. She arguably does more damage than this Alpheus, who was ahead all a game, but is still sitting on 3.5 items here. He's going for a Bloodthirster, but it's really late. Um, Fizz is almost completed his Zhonya's, which is going to make him a lot stronger in the fights. He can take a lot more focus. Finally getting some tank coming through onto Gum. He looks like he's probably building into a Randuin's at this stage. And yeah, Jew, even though he was like horribly destroyed early, has still got it's the Flame Horizon because he's essentially twice his CS at 40 minutes, which is
Oh, here we go.
disgusting.
Dibs is going to aggress. Not all this Shack in the box saves them from what could have been a complete, could have been a wipe on 2 of their team members.
Yeah, a nice Shaco box there to CC, but that's a kind of a one-trick pony as well. So there's a really short cooldown on the talisman. It's already about 2/3 finished, so they'll be able to try that again. If he gets this hook anywhere here, could be GG if Blue get a hook and shut it down. Exile is in the top lane again now. It's a little bit different. There is more pressure because all of Blue are there. Gumblesaur is like, I'd love to kill this Dibs, but I don't think I can do it. Exile's in the top lane. He's pulled Jew right now. Watch. It's only Jew so far, so it's 4-on-4, 3-on-4 in the mid because I don't know what this Ari is doing. Farming Raptors 40 minutes into the game when your team is sieging the enemy base takes all of the pressure off. So Exile has to back up. Blue have to reposition. What are you farming Raptors for when you're sitting on Luden's Echo, Azania's and Rabadon's? What could you possibly need to buy that's more important than being here for the next team fight? And again, she's going to split push mid, so it's...
Oh, there we go. Gankers does get caught, has to play for Trickster away.
There's no damage
And
there.
X-Force is being aggressed onto.
Yeah, because there's no damage there.
The exhaust comes out onto Gankus. The really badly missed Chum the Waters, but Alpheus is getting taken very low by Gumblesaur as well. 2 members of the blue team being pushed away, and this isn't quite the offense that I was really expecting out of the blue team. Windmill comes out. Here comes Dibs. All right, the diplomatic immunity has come down, and so Dibs is free to choose to aggress on whoever they want. Exile actually gets absolutely nailed. And it's the blue team who are now looking pretty shaky. Tempered Fate does catch Alpheus, who
Big
gets
mistake.
pushed and taken out by Zhu. This is the red team ascendant again, as the blue team are on the back foot.
And Ari was farming in the bot lane while all was this going on. Even as Alpheus died, she was only at the blue buff, so completely late to this fight. And it doesn't matter if you're miles ahead. If you're fighting 4-on-5s in the enemy's base and your mid lane carry mage is off farming raptors or side lanes, then it means you're weaker. So blue are like dilly-dallying and they're bleeding away all of the advantage that they built up is being bled away, and now red team are right back in here with all of the momentum to try and take it back. But again, one bad fight for red, they could be in trouble.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, isn't it? When you're behind, you've got to do everything, if not perfectly, but at least better than the opposing team every time.
Yeah, absolutely. As good or better than if you want to have any chance of winning. Presumably a lot better than if you can. Drake's back up on the board. The third Drake for blue could be good. But it actually looks like red potentially have the advantage. Maybe blue will trade off Baron. There's actually really poor vision there. I think Bane suspects she's walking through a blue ward. Shaco's also coming in. There's good lane pressure down the bot lane. Bard and Fizz are still too far away to maybe have an impact on this. If red are able to actually, or blue are able to put any damage, like their 280 carries on down onto this, then potentially they can do it. Now red are here. Now Gumble's here with a smite. He gets the smite! He gets the steal!
Oh, amazingly done! Absolutely amazing. Now can Gumblesaw get away is the question. No, he cannot. And the fight continues. Chris is pushed out of the other side of the fight. This is exactly what they didn't want to have happen, which is have the Guardian Angel go off in the middle of the opposing team. X-Fast is taken very, very low. Chris is still in this fight, though, which is quite surprising. Dibs gets taken out. Oh my god, this is going atrociously. Alpheus gets taken out as well. Yeah. Pikachu being pursued by the Bard. And really nice, the red team are ready and willing to receive the quadra kill. Amazingly done by the red team.
They got like a beautiful pixel onto 2 carries and then scattered to the 4 wins. They greeted on the Guardian Angel kill on Bane and didn't get it. They greeted on the Fizz and he Zonya'd and they didn't get it. Really well played by red. Really well played. And that's what we're talking about, you know. It doesn't matter how far ahead or behind you are at 43 minutes with like a minute death timer. If your team gets wiped out at a Baron, that was 50-50 when it didn't need to be. And then you get aced, you're going to lose inhibitor structures, and now the game is anybody's to take. I don't think red have enough momentum to end the game. Yasuo's up in 5, and the rest of them are up in 10 to 15 seconds. I think they should take this and leave, and they do. They can now get a Drake for free if they want it, but they've completely opened up this game, because now if blue make a mistake and they die, red already have a path to take the game home inside of the death timers. So huge misplay there. And I think the positional errors in the carries is what's doing it. And it just seems more will to like dive and go all in from red. It's like desperation. If you back an animal into the corner, they fight even harder. And it feels like that's what's happening now from red.
Ooh, I don't know if I agree with Ajaj taking that magical journey towards the dragon. But it doesn't look like even so, presumably the blue team must be aware that the dragon is being threatened at this point, and it gets taken down, and yet there's no movement speed increase for the blue team.
Yeah. Now I will say that Guardian Angel is down for Vayne, and Zonya'd is back up for Fizz, but with the GA down it makes Vayne kind of considerably weaker now. She won't be able to survive through another fight like that. Notice when she did die, red beautifully as 4 moved up and surrounded her body, so it forced blue to change their focus and they couldn't just pick her off. And I believe she may have flashed out even, no maybe not, but she did manage to get back out of there. So it's great team play by red that is keeping it in, even though they've had a huge advantage. And look at it now, the gold is down to less than 1,000 when they were up 9k behind. They've completely clawed back into this. They have Baron, they have 5 members pushing down into mid lane and all the pressure in the world. Meanwhile, 2
No, they're in the lead.
Yeah. Well, it's the comeback,
that's amazing.
Right? They've got to be careful. They can't overcommit, but they do have great pressure here. As we saw, like Blitz and Yasuo out in bot lane, as soon as they were seen, it was like, okay, we'll just take another turret. Thank you very much. Blue not doing much to respond to red's pressure at the moment, and it's a little bit disappointing to see them have the lead like that and not be able to like prosecute it into a win. They had 2 inhibitors down. I mean, it was theirs to take, and they may still win it. But I think the wave clear problems of red have been overcome now because of their champions' innate damages and itemization. So now it's a very much an even game, and I actually honestly prefer the Fizz and the Vayne late game because they just do such like disgusting upfront damage. And even this Jew now, like he was so far behind and now he's got 200 CS and 7 kills, and you know he's sitting at 5.5 items, so he's not irrelevant anymore. And as you saw, against Exiled in the last couple of picks. He was able to do good damage up there.
All
Not,
right, here we go. Chu could be getting caught out here. No, manages to evade the
yeah,
hook.
not
And
quite
this
Mad
could
Life
well
yet.
be the last fight of the game.
Yeah, it could be. And it's all down to the positioning here and the picks, the flanks. If they're able to get onto Alpheus, if they're able to get onto Pikachu and take them out. Oh, that only hits Pikachu.
Well, Tempered Fate comes in, locks Pikachu in place. If it's the fight not fully ready to break out, the red team have managed to retrieve themselves from the various different parts of the map as their minions push in bottom lane. But it's a standoff. The hook does not connect, and that would have been so good for them if that could have done. The red team actually starting to potentially pursue them a bit further out the base, but I don't know. Without the Tempered Fate, they lose a lot of their potential to catch someone out here, I feel.
Yeah, it does have a relatively short
Oh, the
cooldown.
teleport's coming into the bottom lane. Shu
Oh.
is going to go down there and try and get the turrets down, followed by
He's got
I Am
one.
Exiled. But that is going to be a Nexus turret going, and we do trade a clown for that Nexus turret. Was it worth it, though?
Hashtag not worth no 70-second death timer. And this was a shutdown as well. Not that it really matters, but it does mean that it's 4-on-5 now. And even though